What's the news? That'll work.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Pwnery's Week in Review in Prime Time, episode 35. I thought I'd do something a little different today. I thought I'd bring back the original music because I haven't heard Scott Allen in a while. And, man, when we get into the personal weeks in review this week, God, you better just take a Klonopin now and wash it down with some Bullet Bourbon, because that's what I'm doing right now as we speak. Drugs and alcohol. Tobacco, I quit. Firearms, I've indulged. So, anyway, we've got to get started. So let me start with my panelists. I've got Jaime and I've got Scott today because they were available in prime time, which is not always the case in the morning. So, good evening to both of you.
Hello, how you doing?
How you doing? So, I'm putting on a really strong face right now because I've had the most fucked up day, and it's a pièce de résistance to the most fucked up week you can imagine, which ended up with the county sheriff in my driveway. So, let's get started with personal weeks in review. Scott's is very interesting. Mine's pretty bad, and I think Jaime's is Rona filled or something, right?
Pretty much.
I'm gonna let y'all go first. Like,
Well,
pick.
I'll let him go first.
All right, Jaime, start with yours because it's
shorter than
actually the
mine.
softest of the two.
Yeah, we'll start out easy on you.
Yeah, we'll take it easy on
Right.
you guys.
So, my birthday was completely cock-blocked by COVID. And not to top that off, to piece of resistance, okay? I was like, you know what, okay, it's my birthday, blah, blah, it's Saturday. I'm gonna go grab some food, let's not make anything. My niece wasn't feeling too well. And then my sister's like thought in her head, like, yo, let's give her a rapid COVID test. Bam, bam. Mind you, I have literally licked it and passed my soda between my sister, my nephew, my nephew. So I mean, yay, right? COVID. I didn't know that yet until my sister's like, oh well, guess what? This is the detail. Your niece is tested positive.
Because
Huh?
Rona.
Because Rona. I'm like, okay, you know what? Okay, that's fine. It's cool. I mean, it's not like she give me mid, okay, here's a soda, and then we're sharing it between, like, we swap spit pretty much. But she's little. I mean, she wanted soda.
Mhm.
And my sister and me and my nephew. And then my sister tests my nephew. He came out positive. My sister tests herself. She came out positive. And where I'm just like sitting over here like, I guess I'm not gonna go to class now. It's Monday. I test myself. I came out positive. I'm like, well, fuck me. Go do the actual test, the lab one. Come out negative. I'm like, huh, that's weird. Get the rapid test again and come out negative. And I'm like, okay, so what happened? And then everyone retested again, and then they're like, the only came out negative was my sister and me. My niece and my nephew, my brother-in-law, all tested positive. So we had to quarantine in different houses. So that's my story. COVID, Kofefi.
Kofefi. Oh man, I haven't heard that in a while.
The Kofefi. The Coofster.
So, birthday, Rona, quarantine,
Cock blocked.
cock blocked. Still has cute girlfriend who plays guitar though.
It
Silver
couldn't do
lining.
nothing because I got cock blocked by Kofefi.
Yeah, but silver lining.
Poof blocked.
Cute girlfriend plays guitar. California girl. Cool. I'm trying to find the silver lining because I hope you guys can find the silver lining in my week because I can't. So, all right, Scott, it's your turn because yours is a good one.
Well, last weekend I ordered to start it off, I bought a 6-inch Rock Island double stack 10 millimeter, the best millimeter, 2011. So when I went and picked it up on Tuesday, because I wanted it, and I'm an impatient bastard, so I scrounged enough money to pay it off. And I went, picked it up, and informed my FFL that I ordered a CZ97B, which Sportsman's Guide was saying that they had in stock.
But
Well, I went. He sent his information over to him. On the 3rd, he sent them his information again for a different buyer to set up a transfer. And promptly notified me yesterday that they had not received his information and canceled my order, which would have been fine. I wasn't too upset. Anyway. So I just put my order in again and was going to go today anyways, pick up some ammo, which I did, for a gun that I don't have, because they sold out. So they done fucked up. So, the manufacturer told them that they were out. So CZ told them they were out. And I called them today and promptly gave them a verbal lashing until one of them put me on hold for 15 minutes. So I hung up, called back, was speaking with a service rep that actually kind of cared about her fucking job.
what a first.
Yeah, first, really. And she explained to me how their system works. Apparently, CZ can put the listing on their website themselves. So, like, their company isn't even fully in control of their own website, which is fucking insane.
Yeah. Oh my god, this is heavy
And,
now.
yeah, so I'm supposed to get a call back because they were going to escalate my issue up their chain of command and reach out to CZ. But my local FFL I was talking to today when I went to get ammunition, for just shits and giggles, he went on to his distributor websites and he found a bunch of them. Now, what I originally had ordered was a CV97B model. So it was the manual safety model. For about $100 more, I could get the BD model, which was actually the model I wanted. So he went ahead and ordered 2 of them.
2?
Quote unquote, shop.
You're not going to try to talk me into buying one of those. Is that why you got the second one?
No,
Okay.
he ordered one for himself. Because he is a CZ connoisseur also.
Is that what they call you guys?
Yeah, he's actually got a couple rarer CZs that I don't have. Because I could not justify paying the money that they wanted for them. I was not going to pay $800 for a CZP01 that is chrome. He did. And I don't think he paid $900 for it either. Because, well, dealer pricing.
Oh, this is
But
nice.
he's got one of those sitting on his wall. It's really nice. It's really shiny. And it would really fucking drive me nuts if it had fingerprints on it. Which is why I did not want one.
Yeah?
Because shiny guns like that drive me nuts.
Oh, you're not going to pull a Derek from Bicycler's Grip Garage, are you? Shiny things make me nervous.
No. The fingerprints on shiny things would drive me nuts.
Yeah, that's why I'm not big on blued pistols, revolvers. I love them, it's just like, you can't touch them.
Blued, I don't mind. But chrome? Ooh. You know, that's... Blued, at least, you know, from a distance, you don't see the fingerprints.
Yeah.
But a fucking chromed gun, ooh, you're going to see the fingerprints from a mile away.
Okay. I gotta ask you a question. Do you remember the name of the Russian guy who makes the optics for Primary Arms?
Fuck, I remember. Alexei?
Alexei?
Maybe.
I think it's Alexei.
I would have to look at one of Robski's videos.
The only reason I'm asking is because I met a guy with the same name today. And if you want to see my silver lining, the only silver lining I could think of, look in gun picks right now.
Oh, Oh boy, did you get to meet the owner of Primary Arms?
No. I think the guy's name's Alexei. Maybe it's Sergey. I forgot. I'm ashamed. I've had a rough day.
Let me look in here.
For the rest of you, I'll show you guys on stream what I'm
yes.
talking about.
Oh, your drum?
So here's my silver lining. Is that showing up on camera? Yeah, it's showing up on camera. Fits real nice. Good and tight.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
I've never had any luck with the drums.
Oh, baby. This thing fits tight as a drum. Pun fully intended.
Well,
Love
I've
it.
never had them. Fitment was never the issue.
Yeah.
Feeding was the issue.
Well, I'll tell you what. This thing just got really heavy with this on here. But the beauty of it is it's all in the middle. So I can hold this on the forend, and the front face of the drum touches my forearm, which actually helps push the brace into my shoulder. And it lines up the RMR right to my eye, which is a perfect co-witness to the front sight. So for those of you who didn't see the video on my channel, I did a gun review for the first time in forever on this acquisition, which is a PSA AKP 7.62x39 pistol. It's made to look like a crank, but it also, because I went with the full nutmeg furniture, really looks like the same AKS-74U that Osama bin Laden was famous for carrying. Also, Dimitri, thank you, Netflutter. Thank you, that's it. So, what I was going to do is a follow-up video to this, because I wanted one that looked like bin Laden's rifle, but I wanted it in the common caliber. So I got this one in 7.62-39. It's a 9-inch barrel. It's got the folding brace on it. And I bought a couple of Korean Fakeolite magazines, which, you know, from a distance, they're passable. They feed well. They loaded easy. They don't have last round bolt hold open, but I'm going to change the followers in the magazine so it'll allow it. And then I'm going to do a video later called Creature Comforts for this particular AK, because I had built the Vichaz clone from Kalashnikov USA. I bought their KP9, and then I made with the Nasty with Ivan the Bear Tactical, and bought all the Zenitco furniture for it, pre-import ban, and decked that one out. That is not what I would call a creature comfort gun. That was built to a purpose to look like something else. This, on the other hand, I want this one to have it's the look the same like it is, but I wanted to make it slightly more ergonomic and comfortable. And the only thing that I wanted was a Zenitco RP1 charging handle knob, because I have the RP2 on the KP9, and it's super comfortable to use. It's big and it's textured, and it's not, I don't know how to say this. If you machine it right, it feels soft to the touch, which is what that does. And the charging handle on the AKP is like a standard AK. So when I went to the gun show today, I'm going to start with the good things today, because the bad things are going to kill this conversation. So I went to the gun show this morning, which is why the show wasn't on time. And this was one of the best shows I've been to in probably 10 years. For some reason, all the good sellers were there. All the milsurp selections were epic today. Like, I saw so much of my to-do list for the wall on those tables today. But I'm having to grit my teeth and exercise spending discipline, because I'm currently about to acquire both a 6-inch Python and Anaconda, probably within the next 10 days. So my money is really tied up. Gone. And then I'm trying to put up enough money in April, because apparently PSA's Spiker AK is going to be released right around my birthday. So that's probably going to be the next AK acquisition I go for, followed by their RPK build kit rifle, because I can't get the Yugo M72B1. Nobody has one anymore. So I'll probably do PSA all three. Now, AK purists, I understand that you have your preferences, and I understand a lot of the arguments for your preferences, and I completely respect them because I'm not an AK guy. This is actually, aside from the KP9, this is my own first personal foray into the AK family because when I grew up, my dad had a pre-band Norinco Mac 90, and that was the only AK I knew of. And it was big, it was long, it was heavy, it had the thumbhole stock, well finished, but not popular with AK purists. Um, and he had 40 round magazines for it, which is cool. But we traded that off to one of my friends growing up, and he rebuilt my Jeep, no questions asked. So, okay. So anyway, what is that? You really? Come on, man. Anyway, so the reason I chose this was I could have bought Z-Paps, and a lot of you made good arguments on why I should do it. I bought this for several reasons. One, made in the USA, kind of cool. Two, this is based off of their GF3 third generation AK platform, which, if you watch AK-47 Operators Union, you've seen them put this gun through the 5,000 round test and it passed with flying colors. That's nothing to scoff at. Three, lifetime warranty. Anything goes wrong, I can send it in. This isn't my go-to-war rifle. This is a hobby rifle for me. Most of my guns are from movies, television shows, or just, personal collection. So I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this, except for the color of the finish. It looks a little soft in some spots, but I can live with it. So anyway, creature comforts for this was my plan for this was, I bought an OKP7 red dot, which, quite expensive. It's going to take a while to get here, especially after the import ban. I was told somewhere between 4 to 9 weeks. We'll see.
Ouch.
My Spetsnaz Oman, which says homo backwards in the mirror, or Sober, that's the other division. It looks like COPR or something like that. Sober. I got the Sober patches because I'm not going to sit there and try to explain the homo patch backwards. That got shipped yesterday from Russia, so we'll see how long that takes to get here. But I can't get the RP1 charging handle. Ivan told me 9 weeks at best, highly likely rejected at customs. Scott's got a guy, Tufu. Apparently, his whole Zenitco line's been pulled off the website. So I guess everyone already knows that this is not going to be a thing for much longer. So if you're in the market for Zenitco parts, and if you can get them from outside of Russia, you better get them now because you're not going to be able to soon, very soon. At the gun show, I talked to 4 different dealers. They all said they got, was it a Form 6 or something like that for import licensing? All 4 of them got rejected, which means they're out of the import game, which sucks. So I was when I was talking to this guy, and thank you for saying the name, because the only part I remembered is his name is the same as the primary arms guy. So this guy's name was Dmitry, and he does speak with a Soviet accent, very, very good accent. But his English is perfect. It's just you can hear it, trail off in certain words, right? So he goes, so any reason you were looking for something from Russia? And I'm like, I showed him my pictures, and I told him about the RP2, and I was looking for an RP1. And he goes, where'd you get it from? I said, Ivan the Bear. And he goes, oh, yeah, we all know Ivan. And he didn't have very kind things to say about him. But in response, he designed his own charging handle. And it's from his company's called Texas Shooters Supply. So I told him I was in the market for the RP1, and he reaches in the back of his booth, and he hands me his charging handle. And he goes, this should fit your rifle. And I'm like, does it have the 2 pieces that horseshoe over the sides, and you slip the cover on, and you put He's like, I don't carry that 5-piece garbage. Or let me try to do it in his accent. I don't carry that 5-piece garbage. That's what he said. And I'm like, care to explain? And he goes, how many times have you shot yours? And I'm like, maybe 2,000 rounds. And he goes, and yours hasn't flown off yet? And I remembered that story about other people's RP2s coming off. And when that comes off downrange, that's $40 to $50 going downrange. So he explained his, and he put it in my hand, and he showed it to me. And it's got this groove cut into it. and it's got a really big set screw, hex head set screw, and it's got his company name laser engraved on the top of it. And he says, yeah, what you do is you just slide it in at an angle, and then it'll fit itself into its position correctly. And once it bottoms out, you should barely be able to move it, and it'll actually be kind of hard to pull back off. This is before you even put the set screw in. And I'm doing it right now. And he's right. And he goes, and just to be, 100% sure, put blue Loctite on the set screw and run it in. And I'm like, cool. Can I get one of these from you? He's like, take it. It's yours. I'm like, what do they normally sell for? He's like, how much does Ivan sell his for? I'm like, $50 with shipping. And he goes, mine are $29. What? And he goes, yeah, take it. Enjoy. Tell your friends. So, shameless plug, Texas Shooter Supply. It's texasshootersupply.com. 2 S's in the shootersupply.com. And this is on his website. And it's brilliant. Like, I'm sticking it on mine, and I could feel it bottom out. And if I run the set screw in, it's perfect. The only difference between this and the RP1, this is smaller in diameter by probably 1/8 of an inch. But it feels good. It's like, it's got the same parkerization and machining feel. So this will go on this rifle as part of the Creature Comforts upgrades that I'm going to do to this gun. The other thing that I was going to do was the OKP7 and then the notching and the safety. So for those of you who don't know, the KP9 has a standard AK safety lever, no thumb shelf. What I didn't realize until today was the PSA one is the upgraded one with the thumb shelf on it. And I'm like, wait a minute. So it's already got that on here. But I'm going to cut the notch in the back of it so when you pull the bolt handle open, you could flip it up and lock it back. I like that. I did that to my KP9. It's on my video for the KP9 if you guys are curious what that looks like. It's just you cut a little notch, and then I just grounded it, and I used a jeweler's file to clean up the edges, and then paint penned the shiny spot back to black, and it works great. So that's the third mod. Other than that, I'm keeping it just the way it is. I've got the Fake-A-Lights in it, and now I've got this Korean-made 75-round drum, which I didn't know how to load one of these. So when I got home, I watched a video on it. And apparently, if you do it correctly, you actually can get 76 rounds in it, like, without even trying. I stopped at 75 because I didn't want to open another box. Which brings me to my other point. Going to the gun show today was shocking. I got to talk to a lot of people about milsurps. That was cool. I got to talk to a guy who also owns a Type 4666 Siamese Mauser like I do. And he's developing a reloading dice set for it, which is great because he's a local. And then he's going to come up with his own manufactured brass based off a 7.62x54R, which is what I buy from a guy called Little Green Men. I think he's up in like Minnesota. So I was talking to that guy for a while. So milsurps, reloading, that was cool. Ammo prices at gun shows are insane right now. If I were to go over to, what is it? Sorry, my brain just farted. AmmoSeek, and I was looking up 7.6239. The price war right now is 32 cents a round. Everyone's kind of competing for 32 cents a round, which comes out to $325 for 1,000 rounds. Now, remember, I'm late to this game, so you have to tell me if that's a lot. Like, was it cheaper before?
Mm-hmm.
So was it like $200 for 1,000? $250-ish? Okay. So right now, when I went to the gun show, I went with the mentality of $325 for 1,000 rounds. I got there, and they had Monarch, which is usually just Reebok's PPU, which sells at Academy. That's a 520 round box. They were asking $399 for that, or $299. $299. Sorry, $299 for a 520 round box. Still laughing. 1,000 round box of Wolf. $500. Are they on crack?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, they are.
$329 for 1,000 rounds of Wolf is what I'm looking at right now on AmmoSeek. They're asking $500, which sort of leads to the begs the question of, so what good is going to the gun show? It's like going to a mall where every store is what you're looking for. The prices might not be there, but you have the convenience of all the shops being in under one roof. That's the only benefit to that. So, ammo prices, no thanks. And then like there was one place, it's called like the Bullet Shack, and I buy from them pretty often. But lately, his prices are a little steep. And he had primers, lots of them, 1,000 primers. You know, a brick. Used to be $39 at my local. They're now selling them for $149. $15 per sleeve of 100. Sorry, I don't need primers that bad. Thankfully, I stockpiled. Then I got an email this morning. Let me see if I can pull it up right quick. And it came from... Who was it? Give me just a sec. Loman Arms. And their news was more encouraging. Because if you remember, I told you guys that in the future, I'll be buying Fiocchi primers. Now, if they want to sponsor me, by all means, contact me. I like Fiocchi stuff. So I'm not really shilling it. I like it. I use it. But they sell their bricks of primers in 1,500 primer bricks. And theirs is also $149. So it's a little bit better, but it's still rape. Anyway, the guy was like, you guys buy from me quite a bit. He's like, what can I get you? And I'm like, well, you don't have what I'm looking for. I'm sure of it. He's like, try me. Okay. I'm looking for 8mm Siamese Mauser. He just looks at me like I just stepped on his foot and shit on it. And he's like, man, you were kidding. I ain't got that. He's like, try something else. And I'm like, okay, 11mm Dutch Beaumont. He was like, you're killing me. I'm like, all right, last chance. Yep. 10.4mm for the Italian Vetterli. He's like, get out of here. So, struck out there. Anyway, I found a 9414 Swedish Mauser carbine. It is on my to-do list. Love them. It was $950. That's reasonable. I just can't spend the money because I'm saving for Python and Anaconda. So I left there crying. I found another Dutch Beaumont Vitali in as good a shape, if not better than mine. $4.99. Almost brought that home. Almost. But I'm saving for a Colt, Python, and an Anaconda. So I walked on that one. Got to see a new Smith & Wesson Shield in 30 Super Carry. $449. Not interested. It's like, whatever, there it is. Let's see, what else was there? There was an MG34 on an aluminum receiver. $39,000. Pass. Found a Swiss 9611. That was tempting. Because that was the guy that was talking to me about Siamese Mauser. $5.99? I think it was $5.99. Too rich for my blood. Classic sells them for $100 less. So, couldn't buy that because Anaconda and Python. But yeah, to be honest, this show was really cool. Like, a lot of good stuff. Some of it was a bit overpriced. Man, I can't say that phrase from Hunt for Red October anymore because I forgot it. I think it's Olaf is Stof Bekoye. So that just means, fuck off. So anyway, I guess the bots are worse during prime time. So anyway, okay, so let's talk about my shitty week in review because it's bad. It's really bad. So
I'm surprised no one's dead.
It started off with It started off good. It started off me picking up this AKP, as a matter of fact, on Monday. And I was really excited for it. Even got to pick it up on the way to work. Got to show it off. And that was cool. Then I, rushed home, did the video, put that out there. And Tuesday was meh. I started realizing like I was getting backlogged with just work. And I was like, okay, well, at least I'll be kept busy, not a big deal. And then, let's see. The third was what, Thursday?
Yes.
Okay, so Wednesday was nondescript, like not a whole lot going on. This is me tending to my puppies, taking photos, making the posts that I've got puppies for sale, things like that. Then Thursday rolls around, and I'm about halfway through my day, and I get a phone call. Now, keep in mind, Tuesday, I come home from work, and I warn my mother, hey, if you have plants and things you need to weatherproof, bring them in now, because you've only got about a day and a half to do it. And I started telling her early because lately she's really lazy. I mean, that's just the best way I can put it. She's sitting on the couch watching Korean soap operas all day, and it's rotting her brain. So I tell her on a Tuesday. Wednesday goes by, nothing changes. I think Wednesday night she starts bringing a few plants in and clogs up my kitchen. Then Thursday rolls around, and cold front is in effect, coming in hard. It was 72 degrees, 72 to 73 degrees on Wednesday. Now, I know a lot of you up north, you guys were dealing with like 20s, teens, and single digits. So me saying 72, you're probably shaking your fist at me. But at least I'm not showing you a picture in front of a gorgeous Florida villa and it's 80 degrees like Tack Daddy. So at least you got that, right? I got that.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
I don't mind, dude. Anyway, so I get this phone call at 4 o'clock. I got an hour to go. I'm just trying to make it through the day. It's my mom, and she goes, we lost Charlie. Now, for those of you who don't know, Charlie is known as my Yao Ming Yorkie. He was the second born out of the 3 dogs I had in my first litter. He was born the same size as all the other puppies, the 2 puppies, the bookends I call them. But about 4 weeks into his growth, he spurted big time. And he tripled in size compared to the other ones. He was the size of a miniature schnauzer by the time he was an adult. But as he was growing up, I took a lot of pictures of him because he had a really interesting face. He looked like Ewan McGowan, who played Charles Vane on Black Sails. He had his face. So I took pictures of it. I'm like, check it out. He looks like Charles Vane. So I named him Charlie, because all my dogs were named after world conquerors, and Charles Vane was a world conqueror in the pirate world, right? But then I told my dad, I was like, no, I named him after Charles de Gaulle. Either way, it still works, but he's Charlie, right? So anyway, I called Guinness a year ago, have him come weigh and measure him because I thought he was a world record dog. He had the height, he had the length, but he didn't have the weight. And they said, we'll come back in 12 months. So I get this phone call from my mom Thursday. We lost Charlie. Now, the first thing that popped in my head was, what's this we shit? I'm at work. And then it's like, wait, what do you mean lost? Did you get hit by a fucking car? And she says, I was in the backyard, and then the neighbor came over. Then the neighbor was talking to my mom about wrapping the pipes because we had one burst last year. Well, I already took care of all that. I called in a favor. I had the pipe fixed from a friend at work, and I insulated it, like a nuclear reactor kind of thing. So it's fine. But she didn't really know that. So the neighbor came out of concern. My mom says, I'll take a look at it. She goes back in the backyard. She decides to open the backyard gate. Well, Charlie's back there. She forgot. He got out. She calls me And she was like, Charlie's missing. And I'm like, then why are you on the phone with me? Get your ass out there and find my dog. So she does. Or she says, I have been. And I'm like, well, how long has he been missing? And she said, half an hour. You're calling me half an hour after the fact, and now I have to leave work early when I'm already overloaded and everyone's on edge there. And by the time I get home, that dog had an hour head start. A dog, in my understanding, can cover 2.5 miles in an hour if he's determined to run and romp around. So my circle to search is already 2.5 mile circle from point, ground zero. And me driving a 2.5 mile circle through spaghetti streets in my neighborhood, that's going to take hours, right? So by the time I get in my neighborhood, I'm an hour behind. And I come in to the house because my dad's car is in the driveway. And I look at my dad and I'm like, did you find the dog? Because he's in the house. And he's like, no. Now, in hindsight, I feel kind of bad for doing this or saying this. But my instant reaction was, then why the fuck are you here? And he stood up. Now, he's 86. And his legs are a bit shaky. And he's got dementia. So like I said, in hindsight, I feel kind of bad for saying that. But I could see him try to walk. And he goes, because my legs are giving out, damn it. And now, remember, hindsight. I'm still angry. And I'm like, then get in your fucking car and drive around looking for the dog, right? Like, I'm just panicking. Put the car in drive, coast, with the window cracked open, look for your dog. Because it's technically his dog. When he was born, I had intended to sell him. And I was coerced into keeping him because my mom says, no, let your dad keep one. Fine. So anyway, that must have made him guilty because he jumped back in the car and took off. I jumped in my car and I took off. And I started driving around the neighborhood. Now it's 4:30. And the nights are getting longer again, but they're still short in comparison to the summer. So dusk around here is like 5:30-ish. Maybe a little earlier. But it's getting later now because we're heading towards spring, right? But for now, I know the clock's ticking. Now it's 4 o'clock, 4:30. It's raining and sleeting, and the temperature just dropped below 30. It was 29. I have a dog on the loose, wet, with almost no hair. His hair's short, wet, 29 degrees, getting dark. Never seen the world outside of my backyard in 2 years. Lost. So I'm DEFCON 5. And I'm cruising up and down the street nice and slow. Very methodical. Block to block. Think like a dog is what my head is saying. I've seen strays. They run down sidewalks. They run down bush lines of people's houses. They poke in and out of like the gap between the yards and shit on your yard by your water spigot, back near your fence, right? So I'm looking at all those gaps because I still got daylight. Every time I stop and see like a UPS driver or a FedEx driver or an Amazon driver, I stop them and I'm like, hey, you guys are in the neighborhood a lot. Have you seen a little brown dog? A couple of people are like, no, sorry. UPS guy was like, yeah, I saw a brown dog down that way. Pointed down where I was fixing to head down anyway. How long ago? A couple minutes. It's like, little brown dog? And he goes, big brown dog. I made a hand gesture how big Charlie is, about the size of a schnauzer. I'm like, this big? He's like, nah, about 3 times that size. Wasn't discouraged. Stray dogs travel in packs. They find each other, they sniff each other's butt, they run around together if they're not going to kill each other, right? So I head down there, I tear ass down there. And I find this big brown dog. Unfortunately, he's by himself. I'm like, great, okay, well, at least I tried. Found a mailman, asked him the same thing. Found a Hispanic couple, real nice couple, walking their dog, asked them. And the lady was like, oh no, and it's so cold and it's getting dark. She's like, I'm so sorry. She says, give me your number. If I see him, I'll call you. Cool, thank you, trying to be as polite as possible. saw this like young black dude. He was walking his dog, and I'm like, hey. And he kind of looked like scared because I pulled up in my car with the window down. I got black lights on in the car, so if I drop anything, I could see it on the floor, right? That's just what I do. And he kind of was startled when I was like, hey, what's up? And I tell him, I'm like, relax, dude. I'm just looking for my dog. And he calms down. And he's like, what kind of dog you got? So I told him. And he said, nah, man, I just saw this big brown one down the street. Same dog, right? And I said, cool. I said, I'll tell you what. I said, if you find him, here's my number. Give me a call. There's $500 in it for you. He took my card very slowly, looks at me, and he goes, man, I walk this dog 30 minutes a day. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, I'm going to be out here till dark. He's like, I'm going to find your dog for you. He started walking off, right? So I felt better because I threw a monetary offer. The guy went buku, right? I was like, cool. I drove long enough to run out of gas, stopped, had to fill up, and then added another 40 miles on the odometer at idle in my neighborhood. I threw in the towel. Well, I came home at about 10 because I have astigmatism, and I learned that I had it in my mid-30s because I raised a reflex optic to my eye, and I had a spider. And then I thought maybe because this red dot's made out of the finest Chinesium, that it's just a shitty red dot. So I watched a video on how to check that. And what you do is you take your cell phone camera and you point it at the reflex site. And if the spider goes away and it looks like a red dot on the camera, then it's your eye. And sure as shit it was. So then I went and I grabbed another red dot, an aim point. Comp M4? I think that's what it's called. I'm not versed on it. I got one, but I don't remember them by model because I only got the one. Lit that one up, spider. I got it real bad in my left eye, which sucks because I'm cross-eyed dominant. I'm right-handed, but I'm left-eye dominant. Plus, I had the most heinous airborne mold allergy this week. And it turned my right eye into a bubbling pizza, like Pizza the Hut. It was constantly tearing to the point that the corner of my eye was raw and irritated. So I got no eyes. But I stop, I grab something to eat, and I go right back out there. And my mom goes, she looks at me, she's like, why are you going out there? And I said, because I owe it to him. I have to do this. I didn't come back home until almost 1 o'clock. I was so broken. Like my back was wasted. I had the heater on, the heated seat, I had my jacket on. My back was killing me because I was shoulder rigging my 10 mil with all the mags, and I didn't even have a chance to take that off. And I was the Exxon Valdez because apparently I can't eat jalapenos no more, so I had to stop every once in a while and spring a leak. So anyway, I spent the first night, I drove 8.5 hours, threw in the towel. Optimism tells me that somebody may have picked him up. Pessimism tells me he was cold and soaking wet, and it was down in the 20s. Hypothermia would have kicked in within 4 hours. He was probably dead. So, me being ever the pessimist, I went to bed thinking that my dog died. My mom kept thinking that somebody picked him up. I tried to believe what she told me because I saw no signs of roadkill anywhere. And I also saw only one dog, the big one, 2 cats, and 1 squirrel. Almost no strays. What I didn't see the entire night was a single patrol officer. They're always in my neighborhood when you don't want them, but when you need one, they ain't there. Give me just a sec. All right, sorry about that. Had a frog in my throat. So anyway, that was the first day. Friday rolls around. I managed to go to sleep because Charlie doesn't sleep with me anyway. He goes to bed with my dad. So when I went to bed, I had my dogs. They were all in bed with me. Everything was cool. So I get up Friday. My mom looks like death. She didn't sleep. She didn't eat. She looked like shit. She felt guilty. But she really pissed me off. She would not own her irresponsibility. She wouldn't own it. She kept trying to play like it was like she was the victim in all this. And that's no bueno to me. You know, when my dad left the house and went to go look for him the day before, she wasn't in the house. She was on foot. I found her an hour later out in the streets with my jacket on, underdressed. Her face was completely red. She was catatonic. I pulled up, rolled down the window. She walks up to my car, not even realizing it's me, and she goes, "Excuse me, have you seen a little brown dog?" And I'm like, "Get in the goddamn car." And then she realized it was me. But she had been there out long enough. Now she's 70. I get it. Like I said, hindsight, right? So she tried. But the problem with me is she's arguing with me the whole time, as if it's my fault, as if she's the victim in all this. And I'm like, when are you going to take responsibility for your irresponsibility? Because everything bad that has happened to me in this house in the last 3 years is because of her, and I'm not even here. My dog's missing. I was at work. My other dog got pregnant 3 times when I was not here. I had put doggy panties on. I created like an isolation zone for her, and I kept another female dog with her so she had company, and yet she wouldn't keep an eye on her dog long enough to keep them away from my dog? She got pregnant 3 times away from me. The one time I wanted her pregnant was the first time. I let that happen. The other 3 times, it wasn't supposed to happen. One time, it only took a minute. Like, I woke up one day, the last time she got pregnant, this current litter. I got up one day. She's almost through with her heat. I got the doggy panties on her, right? And it's like, I gotta play doggy daddy. So I take the doggy panties off from the night before, and I go grab another pair, and I fit them to her, and then I go out and hand wash the old ones that I just took off of her. Got to squirt some soap in there and rub it in hot water and dry it off, right? Well, in the process of taking off the ones that I had, the clean pair was in my bathroom. So I get up, I go into the bathroom, grab the clean pair. My mom opens my bedroom door and my dog gets out. 30 seconds into me washing doggy panties, I hear, "Oh my God." And I'm like, "What?" And she comes beating on the bathroom door. She's like, "Your dog is stuck to a dog." And I'm like, "No, she's in my room. What are you talking about?" "Well, I opened your bedroom door and she got out." "Why did you do that, you idiot?" "Well, I thought you were, I don't know." So I go running over to my dad's office, and she's stuck to the mail. And I look at him, and I'm like, "How long have they been like this?" He goes, "Maybe 30 seconds. And I thought, okay, maybe there's still time. So I grab both of them, throw them in the tub, hit the dog with cold water, and pop them right out, right? Too late. 30 seconds. She got pregnant. We had 4 puppies. January 3rd. 3 days after Betty White died, we had puppies. Because my mom left the door open for 30 seconds. Irresponsibility. She wouldn't own it. She won't claim it. Now Charlie's missing. She won't own it. She won't claim it. Got into an argument today. I had to go... Well, I went to the gun show today. And I came back by 2 o'clock, determined to make missing doggo signs. So as soon as I got in the house, I learned how to load this drum, made the doggo signs, and I was very specific, right? Because I don't know what they were doing all day. And I said, "Look, I need clear box tape and some cardboard. Can you please go get that for me? Find it for me." And all she wants to do is argue with me. Argument got really loud. It ended with, "Well, you're just fucking useless, aren't you?" I'm making these signs. I'm cutting them. I'm cutting cardboard that I found myself, and I found the box tape myself. She did nothing. And I'm just sitting there telling her, I'm like, what do you do here other than piss me off? Get out of my face. She calls the county sheriff on me today, saying I'm being belligerent in my own fucking house. Really? I don't have time to argue with her. I gotta put signs up, right? My dad comes in and he goes, your mom called the sheriff on you. And I'm like, fine. You tell them whatever what you saw and heard. You tell them whatever you need. Because if I talk to them, they'll take her away in handcuffs. I was like, you better keep her and them away from me. I've got shit to do. And he looks at me and he goes, well, what can I do to help you? Can you find me some zip ties? Couldn't find them. So I finished my signs. County sheriff's probably on the way. I grab the signs. I walk right past her and I'm like, you better pray to God those guys aren't here when I get home. And I walked out the door because I had to go drive to Harbor Freight and I had to go buy zip ties. And so now I'm sitting in my neighborhood with these signs that I made, printed, cut to shape, put it on a cardboard backing, taped them so they're waterproof, poked holes in them so the zip ties can pass through them, and I'm feeding zip ties into these things, and I'm putting them on stop signs in my neighborhood, only in the most busy intersections near my house. I only made 10 signs. I realize I have to make about 30 more. I get a phone call while I'm trying to hang signs. And it's her. And she goes, could you come home for a second? And I'm like, I'm busy. And she goes, the county sheriff needs to talk to you about the dogs. And then I thought, okay, maybe she did report the dogs missing, right? Okay, cool. So I give her a mulligan. I'm like, all right, I'll be right there. I drive home. There's 2 county sheriff's vehicles in my yard. 2. They always call for backup. Now, you guys have seen my gun room, which is the room I'm in right now talking to you. And I just got 2 AKs on the wall, one with a 75 round loaded drum sitting there. And I had carried my pistol to the gun show today. But before I took the signs off, or before I was making the signs, I took my carry gun off and I put it away. So when I went out to go hang signs, I wasn't carrying. So like, I walk in the door and there's 2 county sheriffs standing in my living room. And I'm like, holding these missing dog signs. And I'm like, oh, well, it's good to see you guys. I'm like, you mind taking one of these off of me? Can you help me find my dog? And he was like, yeah, we can do that. And he's like, you want to tell me what happened here today? So I explained everything. My version of what I've been doing all day. And how my mom irresponsibly lost my dog. And she won't take responsibility for it. And how she's on 50 million different pills. And it changes her attitude like Brunhilde. And I don't have time to argue with her because my dog's been missing for 2 days in frigid weather and she's done nothing to help me. I'm like, I'm trying to save my dog's life. That's more important than arguing with her. And I said, and sometimes she gets really belligerent and I don't tolerate it in my own house. And I looked at him and I said, did she tell you who owns this place? And he looks at me and I'm like, I guess that's a no. And then he goes, well, did you prevent her from calling us? I said, she called you on my phone, dude. It's right over there. I pointed right at it. I was like, that's my phone. She called you on it. And he goes, oh. And I said, now, can I ask you a question before you guys leave? I was like, do I have to sign anything that you spoke to me today or anything? Because, like, he said, you know, if you prevent her from calling, that's a felony. And I'm like, I'm aware. That's fine. I understand. Like, I was cooperative. And I walk in and I'm only holding missing dog signs, for God's sakes, right? And a bag of zip ties. So, like, I'm telling him what he wants to hear. And I'm a little jittery because I'm kind of pissed off. So, anyway, right before he leaves, he's like, is there anything you'd like to ask me before we leave? And I said, is it cool that I hang these signs? Because I've been hanging them on the stop sign posts. And the sergeant in charge is an older guy standing next to him. And he goes, technically it's not legal. But he says, don't worry about it. He's like, we're not going to take him down. He's like, I hope you find your dog. And I said, thank you. I appreciate it. He walks out. The younger guy walks out, and he looks at my mom, and he goes, could you come out here for a second? She goes, sure. As if she was going to get some fucking victory, right? Now, the screen door's open. She walks outside. First thing he tells her is, ma'am, put the dog in the house. Okay. So she comes back in, puts my dog on the ground, walks back outside. Now, they're within an earshot of me. And I can hear him say, ma'am, you really shouldn't waste our time with calls like this. He says, I can charge you for making a false report. He's like, don't call me again for this. And he walked out and left. She walked back in the house looking like she stepped in dog shit. I didn't care. Like, I wasn't going to give her this look of victory or anything. I had shit to do. I grabbed my signs, I walked right past her and went right back outside. They were gone already. Usually, when they're done, they sit in their cruiser and they fill out a report. It takes a while and they drive off, right? No. By the time he told my mom to get back in the house and not waste their time, they were gone. So I got in my car and I turned the corner and I started looking for them, thinking that they were just cruising by. Nope, they were gone. So went back out and I was trying to pick what places to hang the signs for most exposure. But the cool part was, they came, I thought I cleared the air, but now my mom is despicable, and I think I'm going to tell her she needs to leave. I'm not going to deal with this anymore. Like, she has reached the point where I'm not going to live with her. Like, I've been trying to do this out of the goodness of my heart, and I'm fucking sick of it. So I'm going to call her brother probably tomorrow, and I'm going to be like, you need to make arrangements to pick up your sister because she's not staying here anymore. I don't care if she's my mother. I do not care. I don't like her. She's got to go. And I hate to say that, but my family life's been like that my whole life. She's got to go. She's making my dad's life shorter with this arguing bullshit all the time. Oh, and to add insult to injury, someone tried to break into my Chrysler last night because there is a giant crack in the window because someone tried to break the passenger side window. Unfortunately, the tint held. So I saw a crack in the window, and I had to take care of that too. Yay. But hey, I got a cool AK. It's got a mag. It's got Fake-A-Lite mags. It's got a drum. Talk about shitty week, huh?
Yep.
That was a long week in review. I'm sorry I had to put you guys through that. Let me try to catch up on the comments now. DJ says he lost his American Bulldog in suburban Phoenix after having run to a hardware store, and he'd been gone for an hour. Spent 2+ hours walking the neighborhood, calling out, asking every pedestrian and porch sitter in sight. Kid on a skateboard said he maybe saw him on a porch. Most incredible relief was achieved about 10 minutes later. I had been on the phone to my girlfriend, and she and a friend were going to roll from Nebraska to help. Don't have kids, but damn, sure felt like feeling like I've heard from parents who... Oh, that's the other part. Got it. Well, for me, that whole ordeal was... I couldn't find any evidence that my dog is dead. So what I had done is I drove through the neighborhood, street by street. Then I started thinking like a dog, and I started checking the parks, and I checked like the parking lots of the strip centers just outside of my neighborhood, which is only about 2 miles. Nothing there. Then I had decided that, well, I was going to do it because it was cold and raining at the time. And I told my mom, I stopped at this bridge, and I said, you drive the car, I'm going to walk this by you, and you head back to the house, because it would take me about 20 minutes to walk this path. And what I was going to do is I was going to walk the bayou trail that it meanders behind my house, and then it comes out east of my neighborhood. And then I can walk the street back to my house from the bridge, the other bridge. So it's like a long S-shaped trail. And I figured if I was a dog, I would probably run down that trail, right? I've seen a lot of stray dead dogs on that trail. So I figured I'd go down there. Well, she can't drive and she can't see, so she said, I'll walk it. Well, she walked the trail. What she didn't do was the thing I was going to do, which is walk down the sewer pipes on either side underneath the bridge because they're 6 feet in diameter. And a cold, wet, stray animal would probably take refuge down in the pipes under the bridge because all the heat off the bayou water is steam. So I thought I'll walk those to see if he's hiding down there, shivering to death. She didn't do that. She didn't know how. She didn't know I was going to do it. By the time I picked her up 30 minutes later on the other side, it was dark, so I couldn't do it. But what I did do is I drove back to both of those bridges 4 times and called out to him, hoping he would run out of the pipe and back up the top of the bridge to my voice. Didn't happen. But like I said, I only found 1 dog, 2 cats, and a squirrel. Squirrel was in the daylight. No evidence of stray animals anywhere, so I'm hoping somebody saw this dog and thought, "Oh, you poor thing, it's cold and it's dark and you're too small to be out here," and picked him up. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Did you ever check your medical records on him?
Yeah, he wasn't chipped.
Fuck.
Yeah, the litter after him was chipped. This one wasn't. I go figure, right? And the worst part is he never wears a collar because he's in the house all the time. So there's that. But you know what? Like Friday, I drove around my neighborhood in the daylight in the morning before heading to work, and I figured, you know what? It's probably too cold for the buzzards to be out. Like they wouldn't smell anything yet. So then when I got off of work, I came home and I drove around looking for buzzards. Didn't find any. I thought, okay, still no roadkill either. So I'm like, cool. Today, as I was driving towards Harbor Freight, knowing that the sheriff was on the way, I did see buzzards, and I thought, oh shit. And I pulled up where the buzzards were, and it was a squirrel. I was like, serves you right. Then I went to Harbor Freight. Then as I was hanging signs near my house, I saw 2 more buzzards, and they were at a street light. They sit up on a street light, which usually means that somewhere within an eye shot of that street light, there's roadkill. So I stop, and I'm watching these buzzards, and they're just hanging out. They're not coming down on anything. They're just hanging out up there. I'm like, what the hell? The only thing around that street light is a guy's backyard and the street I'm sitting on. And there's no roadkill. So I'm just like, whatever. So I passed by once or twice to see if they're ever going to swoop down and maybe go after whatever they were looking at. Nope. Came back the second time. They were gone. Like, long gone. I don't know where buzzards come from in this area, to be perfectly honest. Like, get this, right? My neighbor across the street, he works on heavy equipment. Bulldozers, backhoes, front-end loaders, stuff like that. Big things, right? So he has like a crane truck with a welder and all this other good stuff. He brought home this twin tank looking thing. It looked like a scuba tank for an elephant. It was big, right? 2 big tanks with like 2 crossover pipes. And I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. What's that for? And he goes, oh, this holds propane. But he was like, I'm thinking about turning it into an onboard air tank because of its size. And I thought, that's great, right? He cracks open the valve on this tank, and this propane's squirting out of this thing, and it smells like just, I don't know, rancid dog shit. Instant pungent smell. Like methyl mercaptan plus rotten dog shit. That's what it smelled like. Like instant vomit, right? Within 3 seconds of that smell coming off of that valve, there were flies everywhere. And I'm like, where the hell did they come from? Like, you didn't see them coming. It's just sort of like they materialized right there in front of you. And I'm like, where'd they come from? He goes, yeah, it's kind of funny how that happens, right? Well, today, the buzzard thing sort of did the same thing. I'm like, where did these things come from? Like, you never see them anywhere until there's something dead. You don't see them fly in, and you certainly as hell don't see them fly out. They're just there, and they're gone. So, they were there, they were gone. There's nothing there below them, so whatever. The first ones I saw, there was a squirrel. Fuck him. So, anyway, that was my shitty week in review. I'm really sorry. I put all you guys through it, but my week was hell. And it still is, because this has not been resolved. I still hate my mother. No, the dog is still missing. This is not resolved. I told my dad this morning, I said, listen, if I knew somebody found him and was taking care of him, I wouldn't even ask for him back. Like, if that person had children and they took into my dog, I wouldn't ask for him back. I'd let him go there, and I would just be like, you know, was it vaya con Dios, go with God? Because I found my first schnauzer as a teenager the same way. It was a stray puppy chasing a jogger. And I asked the jogger, is that your dog? He goes, no, can you please get him away from me? I picked him up, took him home. I put up a couple of I found a dog signs. Nobody answered. And I kept him for 15 years. Like, he taught me a lot about how to raise an animal and how to care for one when it had a stroke and when he had cancer and all that. Like, it was a learning experience. So I figured, you know what? If somebody found my Charlie and that person had children, then that family can keep him, because that family will give 100% of their attention and love to him because it's their dog now. Whereas for me, Charlie is one of 6 dogs, and I can't give him all the attention and love he deserves because I have to share it amongst 5 other dogs, right? It's not that I don't like him. I jokingly told people that he's my previous Schnauzer Henry reincarnated, because he's just the same size, he's got the same face, he's got the same floppy ears, and I didn't get to say goodbye to Henry when he passed. So I'm like, I'm not spiritual, but I just jokingly told people, Henry's back. There he is, right? I'm even willing to let him go, even if I believed that lie, if I saw someone caring for him with a family. I wouldn't ask for him back. Because he's always been the odd man out in this house anyway. He's bigger than all the other ones. He needs more exercise and attention than the others. He would probably be happier with another family at this point. He's 2 years old. So if somebody finds him and they keep him and they're not going to call me, but I know he's okay, like if I see somebody walking him, I might ask, where'd you find that dog? But I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted. Knowing he's okay would be good enough for me. Then again, I kind of want my big head back. So, I don't know. It's just, you know, every day that goes by past this sucks. Because it's like, survivability, it was in the 20s. In 2 days, the last 2 nights was in the 20s. If he was actually out there, no way. No way. And I wrote this post on Facebook, I think it was yesterday. And I was trying to think like a dog, right? I was trying to put myself in what it must be like. So I took a shower, hot water. Right before I got out, I turned it to full cold. Then I wrapped myself in a towel, dripping wet, barefoot. It was 29 degrees. And I walked out in my backyard and I stepped on the flagstones, barefoot, dripping wet out of the shower. And I stood there as long as I could until I couldn't physically take it anymore. And I only lasted 11 minutes. Me, human being, somebody with survival instincts and, you know, knows how to stay alive. 11 minutes is all I could do. Now, granted, I don't have any fur, but he had very thin fur because I had been fighting, I think it was mange on his lower back. I had been fighting that for weeks. Some of his hair was growing back, but he was thin back there, hair-wise. Plus, he was wet. So, I'm trying not to think about the bad things. It's just, you know, the realist in me is going, get real, you know? So, all right, enough of that. Sorry. Like, this is supposed to be the week in review, so the personals are over, I promise you. We're gonna be a little more cheerful now. We're gonna get into the stories. Surprisingly, we have 5. And the first story, this is going to be sort of opinion-based. I'll be perfectly honest, I didn't get a chance to read these all the way through like I usually do. but I've got the gist of it, and I'd like to share them with you all. And so, on our road trip down the news this week, we're going to start, because it's low-hanging fruit, and low-hanging fruit tastes good, we're going to pick on California. Sorry, Jaime. We're going to pick on California a little bit, like we always do, because it's easy, it's fun, and it's sad. So I titled this, California wants to invade your privacy. They want to know your business. They want to be entitled to your gun ownership status if you have children in public schools. They want to ask your kids if mommy and daddy pack heat. Now, first of all, my initial reaction is it's none of your fucking business. Right? But then the question is I raise a question here. What are they going to do with that information? Right? So let's think about this logically. Johnny Q. Public has a son. Son goes to public school in the 7th grade. They have an assembly day, and they say, we're going to separate you all by grade, and then we're going to split the grade up by section, and when we call your section, we want you to stand here in a line and answer a few questions, and then you can go back to class. Pretty typical assembly, right? So Johnny Q. Public's son is in this line. They call his section for 7th graders, and after about 25 minutes of standing in this line, now his feet are a little sore and he's kind of bored. And when I was in school, you weren't allowed to play with your phone. They'd take it away from you. Today, probably a different story. So let's say he's standing in line texting away on his phone or playing Evany or whatever stupid games on your phone. Be the boss or whatever. And puts his phone away, and the teacher or the administrator's up there is going, okay, Jimmy Q. Public. It says here your dad's name is Johnny Q. Public. Is that true? Yes. And your mother's name is Mary Q. Public. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Well, do you have COVID-19? No. Have you ever been vaccinated for COVID-19? Yeah, because it's California public schools and you all required it and forced it on me. Do your parents have COVID-19? No. Did they get vaccinated? Yes, because they'd like to keep their job and the state has really shitty rules. Okay, cool. One more thing, yeah? Does your dad or mom own a gun? Now, imagine you're 7th grade, right? So what are you, 12? 11 or 12 years old, right? Now, my household growing up was a little different. There were guns in the house, but I wasn't aware of them when I was in 7th grade. Like, that was one of those things that mom and dad bought and hid from me. Kept it away. Acted like we never had it. So that way, I probably never looked for it or wanted to look for it because I didn't know we had it, right? So that was my upbringing. Let's say his upbringing is something like that too. Like, how does he know if mom and dad owns guns? But let's just assume he does know, right? Maybe his parents are responsible. Maybe his parents bought him a .22 and took him out to a range and showed him how to use it and taught him firearm safety and told him the 4 safety rules, right? Maybe Jimmy Q. Public was raised right, okay? Actually, I'm going to pause for a second. Mad Sexy, there will be. It's just today I got to do the show late. We're trying prime time today, just so you know. There will be more penny arcades. I haven't decided what game to do next. So anyway, so let's say he was raised right. Let's say he knows the firearm safety rules. Let's say he goes, yeah, dad carries a on-roster Glock 19, and mom carries a, let's say, Ruger LCP. Let's say maybe he doesn't know the models, okay? Let's say he just knows that dad owns a Glock and mom owns a Ruger. Let's just go with that. So they write this down, right? What are they going to do with this information is what I want to know. Are they going to go home, or are they going to concede or conclude that survey and then collate this data, and then are they going to run the disciplinary records of each student and tie
So,
it to what gun they have?
so my understanding is that that would be sent to the whatever the police department, sheriff, to notify
Hmm.
whatever regarding you own firearms.
Okay.
They're not asking specifically. They're just asking like, does he own guns? And you check the mark. Yes.
Okay.
Mind you, when you're the parent, so let's say my kids, I'm taking them to school.
Sure.
I gotta fill out that paperwork. They've been vaccinated and God knows what else. And on the bottom, once I'm filling out the paperwork, it'll say, do you own firearms in the household?
Okay.
You have to physically say yes or no. Once, let's say I put yes,
Hmm.
some would be notifying that file with the police department, and specifically how I understood it, typically like Nazi Germany. Okay, this is a kid who is being flagged that his parents own guns.
Exactly.
So now we're gonna be specifically looking at this little kid in case, mind you, kids are playing video games called Call of Duty,
Right.
um, PUBG,
Yep.
uh, Overwatch,
Hmm.
and Tarkov. Let's say my kid draws an AK-47 because he was playing Tarkov with Sean down the street. I have to
Sure.
use your. All right, I
It's
couldn't
fine.
figure out. Sean down the street. Both of them. Let's say I know the dad of Sean.
Mm.
We're friends. We both own guns. They'll take that drawing and they're not putting it to. They're all wearing army hats. Let's say
Sure.
they'll take that as a threat. They'll notify the police. They will know that you, because they have your address now, and they'll go to your house. Mind you, within this law, they'll check your phone, they'll check the kid's phone, they'll check the kid's backpack, and guess what? They'll also within the law go check your house
Right. So
just
this is
off
like
of the suspicion,
this
And
is
off a
then when they get to your
preemption
house, tell them to
issues.
go fucking kiss my ass.
Right. So
so
this is
this
like
A
a
is
little more.
preemption
this is
argument then.
because, well, yes, because they're circumventing the police. This is we need probable cause and reason and suspicion. They're taking probable cause and just using reason and suspicion.
Right.
That's what the suspicion is, that my son and John's kid decided to. They're playing Tarkov and they're reenacting a fucking scene they did where they epically killed everybody in this game, right? Whatever.
Call of Duty, no Russian.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now they're coming to your house because your kid did this. Oh, your kid is a mass shooter. They're playing Tarkov.
They're playing a game that has a disclaimer before you start it.
Yes. And they're like, well, because of it's almost that they're saying, what is the stupid quote where they says, oh, because you did this and you have this, that's like, bam. See,
If this, then this.
yes, exactly. So it's like because you did this, you will do this, and then you'll do this, and then see, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
How are you right? He just drew a fucking picture and they're wearing army hats, dude. That's literally it's circumventing probable cause and reason suspicion. They're just they're using reason suspicion, getting the cops to be like, of course. Knock knock. Yes. Are you blah blah blah? Yes. Okay. What's next? I gotta check your house because making sure you're safe. Where's your guns?
See, that's what. Okay, so that's kind of what I was driving at. See, I was hitting this from the angle of preemption, uh,
Well, that's how
but
I understood it from someone who explained it to me.
sure. So the other thing I thought is if they catch the kids young enough. Let's back this up to we're gonna have an assembly, and Jimmy Q Public is in the second grade. So they're going to bring a child psychologist in there to ask the questions. They're going to coerce the answers out of your kids by making it a game because they're young and hey, draw this picture of what you think a gun looks like. So little Jimmy draws a pistol, right? A second grader, it's going to look like 2 bricks, right? With stick figure holding it. Second grade. Now, growing up, I had a friend named Willie in 2nd grade, and that fucker can draw, but most kids can't, right? So, what if they do that and say, oh, that's a very good drawing. How'd you know how to draw that? My daddy has one of those. Draws an AK, right? So then I thought, what if they coerce the answers out of the kids, give it to the police, and then the police check the California gun registry? Because don't you guys have to register your guns in that state?
Yes, but it's you. I don't think they're going to be able to do it with a 2-year-old or a second grader. Mainly due to the
Is
fact
this
is that.
Never
Huh?
is this the
underestimate
same
the
state?
power of an idiot in charge, Jaime.
No, no, no. I know, no, I know that,
Let
but
me
I
make a
think there's a
point.
law. There's a law that you can. Okay, how I understood it was, okay, I saw a case for class.
Okay.
Check this out. A 4-year-old couldn't be used in court.
Right, because they don't have the mental capacity to formulate a coherent thought
Well, that,
that could be
but there's
binding.
another thing is it could be manipulated. His
Exactly.
thing, he can be easily manipulated.
You see, that's why I said they bring a child
No, no,
psychologist in for
that's
the
no,
2nd grade assembly to
no.
manipulate
I
the
know, but
children.
even a psychologist can technically do that because, first of all, you can't just bring a psychologist on school without letting your parents know.
No.
Oh,
Look,
yes, they
look.
do.
You know how they do it? They hire them as the school counselor. Because if you look at the
Mhm.
background education of the school counselor, you're going to find out a lot of them are sociologists and psychologists. A
Well,
lot
no,
of them.
no, yeah,
Yep.
no, for sure. But I guess what I'm trying to say is they'll be walking on a thin line that even the police will look at them. So you're telling me of how old is second grade? Again,
Okay, I want to believe what you're saying. Okay, I really do. The problem is you come from a state with a governor and a congresswoman who play
no,
this
no,
game called
you,
rules for thee, not for me. Which
no,
means
no,
any
you're right.
law that you're going to tell me that they're going to hold against them, they'll just bypass it. They'll
Let me
excuse
make a point
themselves
here.
out of it. Go ahead, Scott.
Is this the same state that sends agents from the California Department of Justice to other bordering states' gun shows to look for California plates?
Do they do that?
Yes. Yes, it is.
News to me, not for
They
thee.
run through the parking lots
Yeah,
with a fucking license plate scanner
to see where they
looking for
came from.
California plates.
Huh.
They technically
And
run
then
your
they
plates, and if
then they
it comes
wait
to,
Yeah.
for you at
yeah,
the border and pull you over.
Wow. Oh, so they kind of stalk you.
They go out of their legal jurisdiction.
Yeah. But they don't act on it until you
Harass-
cross the border back into it.
Exactly.
And you can't prove that they did that.
Oh, you can prove it all they want.
No, I mean you
There's
can't
nothing
prove
you
that
can do about
they
it.
stalked you back into the state unless you had a camera. See, Angelina had cameras in
true.
her car, so when she got into an accident, she was covered because she could prove everything. So I guess maybe
Yeah,
that
but
would
are
be a
those
good thing.
cameras typically running when the car's not running? 'Cause they need
So the
power.
way that the camera works, like the dash cams and the rear cams, the kits that you buy,
Mhm.
you put it in like a flash drive, and it works like a surveillance system. It's always recording when you start the car, and it has a big enough capacity where it can record like 8 days worth of video. And then if nothing happens where you have to recall the video from the day that you had an incident, then it just starts overwriting the oldest one. So yeah, you can keep a rolling record. Because what you would do is if you got into an accident, you would stop the recording right there so it wouldn't overwrite it for the next 8 days, pull up the record,
Yeah.
give it to your insurance guy, and you're straight. So yeah, that could be a
Yep.
thing. Man, can I just say something real quick? We've been on for an hour and a half, right? Personal Weeks in Review took quite a while. I'm sorry about that, but it did, right? We've only gotten through the first story, and like, chat is busy. Like, this is working pretty well. So, at the end of the
see,
show,
my plan worked. See,
Well, see, at the end of the show, I'm going to ask you and the audience, do you want to do this prime time on Saturdays instead of in the mornings? What do you guys think? We'll talk about that, I guess.
Uh,
Mad Sexy's
yeah.
got to go. Damn it, just as I was complimenting the chat. Okay, well, thanks for coming. You can watch the rest of it on the replay. But I think that's something we're going to have to mull over because this is actually really cool. All right, so yeah, California, they're going to want to know, they're going to start asking your kids what guns you own. Just, bend over and take it because you keep voting these idiots in. You might want to vote them out now. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. Cleo, shh. Sorry. Second story of the day. Let's call this Let's Kick a Dead Horse. No, not the Gunchannels user. Not him. The AFTs are keeping nearly 1 billion transaction records on you. Now, I know, you guys have talked about this. We've done this. Night Strike covered this. I'm sure G-Web's covered this. I'm sure everyone's covered this. I'm the last one for the week, so we're going to cover this just slightly. 900-ish, 50-ish million firearms transactions. They got caught digitizing these. Now, we're gonna go through this on a technical standpoint because I'm an IT guy. Most of you guys are IT-minded people, so I want to take this slightly at a different angle. Okay. Scott informed me because I'm not what you would call an activist. I'm an enthusiast, right? So when someone brings this to my attention, I will read it and I will master it or learn it after the fact, post facto. So I can admit to you that I didn't know this prior. It's illegal for the ATF to keep a digital searchable record. Okay, I get it. I didn't believe it at first, but I fact checked it and Scott's right. And other shows have said the same thing. They can't keep a searchable record because that is essentially a registry, right? Fine.
Mhm.
Fine. What they have been doing is they take the records that FFLs have to manually keep for 20 years. So in the event that a firearm is used in a crime, they can do an inquiry to search for the 4473 that was filled out for the purchase so they can start doing, I guess, contact tracing, right, to find the previous owners. And then if that previous owner sold the gun, then he's the one that can say, well, I sold it, here's a copy of the bill of sale, and they just keep going on to the next guy and the next guy and the next guy until they finally find out some guy had it stolen out of his truck and then it was used in a crime. Okay? So it's a 20-year limit that an FFL has to carry his 4473s and take up tons of space in his file cabinets if he's a really big store like Collector's Firearms, for instance. And then after 20 years, I think then they can destroy them, right? They don't have to send them to the ATF. They just don't have to hold on to them anymore. They can probably destroy them, shred them, Iron Mountain, burn barrel, whatever the fuck. But if the firearms licensor goes out of business before the 20 years of his records, then he's required to send them to the AFT. I did that on purpose. Send them to the AFTs, and then they basically just take all the records and stack them in these giant containers that sit out in the in their parking lot, right? We've seen the pictures. G-Webs has shown us the pictures. And you've got no climate control, and these things are getting curly and moldy and yellowed and wore out. You've seen paper in rundown houses. You know what I'm talking about, right? So they get stuck with them. The problem is they got stuck with so many that the floor of the ATF collapsed. Like, when I heard that, the first thing that came to my mind was the Corvette Museum floor collapsing and all these beautiful cars destroyed. But if the floor at the AFT collapses, the nation probably busted out laughing and rejoiced.
Yeah.
So anyway,
they're destroyed all those records.
Yeah, so their solution as an IT thing is we're going to scan these as photos so we could put them on a server so we don't have to waste all the space with the containers and the heavy paper and, crush the floor or whatever. Now, as an IT guy, I understand that. I would promote that because medical records were done that way too, and that revolutionized the medical field. Dental records, same thing, right? All that stuff made sense. Like, you don't go to a library anymore, and I don't think there's a card catalog anymore. Like, you go to O'Reilly Auto Parts, and they're one of the few auto parts stores that still uses a Weatherly index. They still do it, but most other places, everything's on the computer, database. Less space, faster to recall, yada, yada, yada. And that's the problem. You see, they took the 4473, they didn't scan it as a photo. They scanned it with an OCR to the point that everything was in a searchable database, like an Excel file, which is illegal, which is why everyone's in a tizzy about it. Now I get it. Now I fully understand it. They should have scanned it as a picture. But here's the problem. I'm an IT guy. You can use OCR software to recognize shapes of letters and numbers, even on photos, which means it's still illegal, but they're gonna get away with that one. Guaranteed. Because they're gonna be like, no, we just got pictures. We can't, look, this is Excel. We can't just hit Control F and search it for the words. Well, no, we can't do that. We just have these JPEG files, right? And it's like, the same idiots who vote Nancy Pelosi in office and forgive Chuck Schumer for being an asshole are the same people that are going to be like, yeah, what are you guys worried about? Look, it says JPEG right there, right? They're too fucking stupid to realize that there's this thing called OCR software that learns the shapes of letters and numbers, which means they still have a registry and they can still search it. So yes, this cannot happen. Keep the papers, let your floor collapse, you idiots. Because what you're doing is illegal. But, if I had my way, I'd just shut you the fuck down anyway. You don't belong here. You are not a law-making body. You are a division of the Department of Treasury, okay? You don't get to dictate law. You don't get to write law. And the fact that you get to reinterpret it is an insult to law, okay? That's a problem, which leads me to the next story. Huh? See how I segued into that? Let's do that. We're going to move on to the next story because this goes right into that, okay? Let's play AFT Bingo. So what are your guesses for the new firearm, silencer, pistol brace, and receiver regulations that are going to come down on us in a couple of months? What do you think they're going to do? Go ahead. You go first.
I'm guessing they're going to make you serialize uppers and lowers. I'm guessing they're going to try and outlaw pistol braces, which is going to be illegal under the Americans with Disability Act. So, fuck the ATF.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically going to do anything they can that's unconstitutional.
So,
am I close?
No, I think you're spot on. Jaime, are you kind of in agreement, or do you have anything new for that? I guess he's busy. Okay, so let's take that piece by piece, because I agree with you. So you're thinking they're going to say that the upper receiver and the lower receiver now have to be serialized, which in turn would kill 80%ers. It would kill the ability for you to buy and parcel out your AR builds. Or if you bought an already assembled, let's just use like Rick's rifle. He has a Smith & Wesson M&P Sport 2, right? What you're saying is if Rick walks into his local, he's going to say, give me that rifle right there. I'm not really big into ARs or anything, but, I got to shut up all these young whippersnappers and get one. Right? So the guy's like, okay, Rick, no problem. And he pulls it down. He's like, we're going to have fill out this form for you. For Rick, it's not going to bother because he's going to fill out one form, and the only difference for him is it's going to have 2 serial numbers on the form, as if he was buying 2 guns instead of 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for a guy like him, and the majority of casuals, let's call them, I'm trying not to be rude about it, let's just call them for what they are. They're casuals, right? They go in, they want a gun, it's going to be a nightstand thing or whatever. Or, their
Or
friends talked them
first-time
into...
buyers.
Yeah, or their friends talked them into buying their first AR so they can go to the range together. None of those guys are going to give a shit. They're just going to be like, whatever, it's one form still, I don't care, right? It's the guys like us who build them, who build our parts, who a la carte our builds so we don't end up with a drawer full of parts we've taken off the rifle that Rick bought to make it the way we wanted it ultimately. See, we don't have to do that. We can just buy the parts and build it the way we wanted it the first time. That's how I built my AR-10. That's how I built most of my AR pistols, right? There's certain things I wanted, like my 50 Beowulf. I built that for fun. It's a joke. It has a snowflake lower with a vomiting unicorn throwing up a rainbow. Okay? It's got blue anodized shit everywhere. It's supposed to make someone look at that and giggle until they hear it go off with a 50 cal round coming out of it. They're going to be like, Jesus, right? I built that very specifically. I picked every single part that went in it to build it. I'm very happy with the way it turned out. I don't want to do 2 background checks for the one build. That's ridiculous. And by
Are you guys
definition,
talking about California?
well, by definition, the upper's not a gun.
By definition, the lower isn't either.
By a definition, the lower's not a gun either. By
Are you
your
guys talking about
powers,
California?
Driving them right now.
by your powers combined, then it becomes a gun.
There's a former ATF agent who has made a name for himself, getting people off from charges with the ATF because he testifies in court that the strict reading of the actual law of a firearm, the AR upper and lower do not meet the definition till they're together.
Correct. I'm gonna read Night Strike's comment because he chimed in with what he thinks is going to happen too. So his is determinations are going to be no homemade firearms, 80%ers, etc. No parts are going to be allowed to be sent to your home anymore, and no pistol braces. So he kind of hit all of them. So now, okay, so Play Nice is leading into the next part that I was going to get into actually. Address the implications of the Americans with Disabilities Act on braces. This is how these fuckers are going to get away with this, okay? They're not going to make braces illegal. I promise you that. I promise you right now, on the record, Pwnery on the record, they will not outlaw braces because they will not want the weight of the ADA crushing down on them, okay? What they're going to do, and I don't even like saying this because I feel like I'm giving them the excuse they need. But I'm going to say it anyway because we're among friends and cohorts here. So I'm going to say this because I want you to brace yourself for the bullshit that they're going to throw on you, okay? Braces will never become illegal. I promise you that. What's going to happen is they're going to require a physical. They're going to require a doctor's prescription for the brace as a prosthetic device for a disabled person. That's what's going to happen. They're not going to fuck with the disabled. No, they can't. That's the problem. They can find a way to make that happen, is what I'm saying. Now, we all know braces, right? We all know why they haven't done it yet. But I'm just telling you, this is how they're going to take it away from the able-bodied. And they'll still be able to excuse their way out of it. They'll be like, look, that guy can have one because he lost his left arm in Afghanistan. He's got a prescription from a doctor that's written that says he is cleared to have this prosthetic device. All he has to do is present this government-issued okay, and he can pick up braces anytime he wants. But he still can't have it shipped to his house, like Night Strike says. He still has to go and pick it up from an FFL. Which means he still has to waste their time.
You're forgetting one little thing.
It's not serialized.
Forgetting one other thing.
What?
Doctors can't tell the federal government. It's like a client. It's like lawyers, client attorney privilege. They
Right,
can't
but see, that's the
disclose
thing. He's
medical
not
records.
telling the government anything. All he's doing is prescribing a prosthetic device to the patient. The patient is legally obligated to present that by law if they pass it. Otherwise, an FFL can't sell it. See what I'm saying? It's a regulation thing. It leaves the doctor out of the loop.
But the doctor would have to issue that,
Yeah.
which would be going against HIPAA.
He's prescribing a prosthetic device. See what I'm saying? It's like being prescribed. Okay, maybe it's not a prosthetic device. For instance, Rick couldn't walk for a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
His medical thing covered his scooter. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Through regulatory whatever. It was a benefit to him.
So does that mean they're gonna okay it for my insurance?
I don't know.
To cover the price of a brace?
I don't know. All I'm saying is I'm just putting the possibility.
That opens up a can of worms.
I'm putting the possibility up into the air because, like, Play Nice was asking, how can they get away with it? This is how I think they can get away with it. You're right. Maybe there's something I'm not thinking of.
They will be tied up in lawsuits for the next decade.
Yeah, but you know what the problem with that is? If you have a lawsuit that has anything to do with firearms, right? If it's pro-firearm, the injunction is never given to you. If it's anti-firearm, the injunction is always given to the anti, which means you're fucked until they make the determination. So it doesn't matter. We still lose. That's the problem.
No, actually, Dick Heller got a injunction against the Washington D.C.
Okay, but okay. All I'm saying is the what ifs. Okay, like I'm not saying this is law.
Until the Supreme Court ruled on his case.
Right. I'm not saying any of this is law. It's just.
No, the ATF is not going to go after braces because it's going to open a fucking can of worms that they will not survive.
I don't buy it. I just think the case I just laid out, I'm telling you, the feasibility is dangerously possible. That's all I'm saying. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. It's just I'm on the record saying they will never outlaw the brace. They'll just regulate it away from the able-bodied. Because they can make the excuse for a prosthetic. They can make an excuse for the handicap by being elderly, right? You can get a placard on your car to park in handicap spots if you're over a certain age now. So they can make the excuse. They'll say, don't worry about it. If you lost your fingers, you can still get a brace. If you're 75 years old, you can still get a brace. We're just trying to keep that 17 or 18-year-old away from that brace on his AKP. That's all they're saying. And, like I said, the majority of cattle that vote for Nancy Pelosi and forgive Chuck Schumer for being an asshole will just be like, fuck it, it don't bother me none. It's almost like Fuddism, isn't it? That's all I'm saying. The casual, it's because of the casual, a lot of the bad regulations get passed or allowed to happen. Because the casual is not educated in the eroding effect of gun regulation, right?
Now,
G-Web's picture of the cake is a good example of that.
I want to address DJ Play Nice.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Is a extension of being able to drive.
Huh?
Being able to drive is not a constitutional right.
Right, that's a privilege.
Exactly. That's what they're trying to do.
Oh, wait, did he say something about that?
Yeah. They are trying to convert the Second Amendment into a privilege, not a right. And
right. Yes, you and I talked about that too. You're right. They keep trying to... See, that's the problem. We use automobiles and travel. You and I, our side uses that argument a lot, right? In our benefit. And what they're trying to do now is use it to their benefit. I see what you're saying. It's just...
They're trying to use it against us.
Right. And that's the thing. I'm trying these days not to use automobiles as an example anymore. Because the more I realize I'm using it for my benefit, I'm starting to realize that we can use it to our detriment. So I'm trying not to use that as an example anymore. We're going to have to be...
Oh, are you talking San Jose?
Well, yeah. See, I'm trying to you've got to always be one step ahead of your detractor. And now they know that the automobile analogy can be used as a weapon against us. We need to stop using that. There's another thing we can use. We just have to figure out what that is. That's all I'm saying. Okay,
Well, here's
so
the thing.
so we did braces. We did uh, the upper and lower receivers. Okay, silencers, suppressors, right? Now,
Mhm.
they keep pushing for the Hearing Protection Act, okay? And the argument in our case is there's no detriment for a suppressor because, number one, if a hunter uses it, it spooks less animals. If you use it on the range, the level of ear pro doesn't have to be insane. You know, it's like it's a benefit to everybody. And if you look at just actual crime statistics, people aren't reaching into their fucking trench coat and slipping on a can before they go assassinate someone. That's Hollywood, right? But they're still going to turn around and say, "Well, look, if it's not a big deal, then why do we need to change it? Why do we need to take it off the registry?" And it's like, because you can go to Norway and just buy one in a blister pack at a gas station, just like you can buy Twinkies and condoms. That's what liberty looks
Uh,
like.
Not just there, Germany,
Well, I know, but I'm just using
the
an
Czech
example.
Republic,
But my point
much of
is
Europe.
they get it. As weird as most of the European nations are on gun laws, on suppressors, they get it. They're like,
No,
look,
no,
they use suppressors out of courtesy. It's like that makes
yeah,
sense.
they think it's rude to use loud firearms
Within close
for their
proximity of each
neighbors.
other during the shooting range. I get that.
No, no, no. When you're out hunting,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
annoying
Yeah.
the neighbors.
Yeah. And you know, it's gonna take some AFT retard who has never taken a deer or shot at a bear or realized how bad feral hogs are. It's gonna take some manicured sissy to go, no, you don't want the guns to be quiet while you're hunting because if you hear the report of the rifle and you're within earshot range of another hunter, that keeps you safe. Fuck off. Really? No, fuck off. Because
Also,
he doesn't know how booking a hunt works.
how many states currently have constitutional carry, Sean?
Uh-huh. 22. Well, I think it's 22.
And what does that entail?
It entails that
Less
geographically more than half
carry,
the physical country has that liberty now.
and it is growing exponentially.
Yes, it is. Unfortunately, it
Which
came to my
only the
attention.
most
It died in
what?
Indiana.
Okay,
Oh, no, no. You
but
know what? Play Nice is right. DJ's right. It's 21. Texas was the last one. 22 could very possibly be Ohio. It passed their
or
House, it passed their
Louisiana.
Senate, and it's going to their governor's desk. Now, I don't know if Ohio legislature works like Texas, but if you take a bill to the House and the Senate and you send it to the governor, and the governor technically doesn't agree with it, but he also doesn't disagree with it and doesn't sign it for 10 days, it automatically, very quietly becomes law. Now, my governor was proud to sign it. He made a spectacle out of it. But if Ohio doesn't want to make a spectacle out of it, they could just very quietly just leave it on the governor's desk, and after 10 days, it just quietly becomes law. And that's fine too. Now, you can criticize their governor for being a coward, not signing it like Greg Abbott, and making a festival out of it like Greg Abbott, because that's what a good governor looks like. But
Over
whatever.
Hot Wheels.
Well, no, I've got my grievances with him too. But in this case, I'm 100% behind him for doing this.
Hmm.
Um,
But what you're saying is almost half the country has permitless carry.
yes, and DJ brought up. Actually, was it DJ that brought it up? No, I think you brought it up. Louisiana.
Yes,
Louisiana.
Louisiana's.
I think I said this last week, and I don't mean any offense by it, so please don't get offended. Like, two of my ex-girlfriends are from Louisiana. My lawyer's from Louisiana, and she's quite nice, and I'll just leave it at that. Um,
Southern.
um, No, I got a thing for coon ass. Anyway, so anyway, um, the joke is that Louisiana is Texas's retarded little brother. And what they mean by that is usually what happens is Louisiana is that little kid that peeks over the fence going, "What you doing?" And then when you get something done, they're like, "Hey, I want that too. We should do that," right? A lot of laws that pass in Texas eventually get passed in Louisiana the same way. Well, the problem with Louisiana is their House and their Senate are down. They're like, "Yeah, let's do this, right? Texas did it. We're going to be next. We'll be 22." Problem is their governor is a piece of shit. So the governor will probably kill it. And in the meantime, Ohio picked up the slack. Their House and Senate passed it. Their governor, I think, is on the record saying that he's okay with it. So likely they're going to be number 22. People thought Indiana was going to be up there too. Unfortunately, from what I read from Rick and Roll Call, it died. I think it died in their
But
state
you see what I'm
Senate.
saying is there's enough states that are in play.
Yeah.
Realistically, we could be talking about over half the states.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. It is. It's a very good feeling. My concern
Which
now
means
is
the only states that are going to hold out, because at a certain point it's going to be
coastal
gain critical
states.
mass.
Coastal states.
Yeah, it's going to only be the most hardcore liberal states that will hold on to permits.
Yeah.
And eventually, those will get overruled in court.
See, I have a dream.
It's actually before the Supreme Court right now.
I have a dream. I have a dream that reciprocity in 50 states will happen where you don't have to have a permit to carry and you can cross state lines with your carry pistol in holster. That's my dream, right? We have 22 states. If 22 of those states have reciprocity, that means I should be able to drive into Oklahoma with my gun with no permit. Because if they respect the reciprocity of Texas, Texas has permitless carry now. That's my dream. It shouldn't be a dream because it was a fucking right given to us.
Yeah, and it takes years to get those rights back.
Yeah, which never should have been regulated in the first place. It's like, listen, okay, I'm gonna admit to something today. Today was the first time that I carried my carry pistol to the gun show. I had never done that before because I just didn't want to make a fuss, right? I didn't know the rules. So
good, didn't know.
Today I carried it. I walked in, gave the lady my ticket. My fleece pullover was covering my Glock 43X. Okay. As I was getting ready to walk in, the two sheriffs at the check-in desk before the girl stopped and go, "By the way, do you got any firearms to check in today?" And I looked over, and I talk to these guys all the time. So I said, "Well, no, just my carry pistol." And he goes, "Oh, you can't carry that in there." And I said, "Oh, is that a fact?" I was like, "This is my first time. I wanted to know what the rules are." And he says, "Oh, well, come on over here." And he goes, "You can carry your pistol, you just can't keep your magazines and ammo in it." And I'm like, "Okay, so how does that work?" And he reaches in and he gives me this little blue ticket and he puts out a solo cup and he's like, "Just drop your mags on the table." And he was like, "Is your gun loaded?" So I lifted up my fleece and I said, "You can take it out if it makes you comfortable." Like, I'm not trying to be a dick, right? I'm just like, "Go ahead, you can take it." So he pulled it out, and here's where I had to embarrass myself, okay? Because I don't trust myself chambered on a gun without a hammer. It's a character flaw. I'll admit it, okay? I carry my 43X with a snap cap in the chamber. I know it sounds stupid. Follow me here. I work in a warehouse. I bang my pistol into things all day long. Forklifts, pallet racks, pallets, trucks, you name it. I smack into things all the time. And I don't know if it's going to go off. So the first thing I do when I get home is I dry fire it to see if it's still ready to go, or if it went off while I was doing my thing at work. I'm happy to say that so far it never has gone off, even on the snap cap. But I just do it out of habit now. Because honestly, pulling my pistol, drawing it, and racking it once, it's not really that much of an extra step for me. I can just do that in one motion. As I'm pulling it up, my hand's on top of the slide anyway. So for me, it's not a big deal. So when the guy took my gun out, he's like, "Is it loaded?" And I'm like, "There's a snap cap in the chamber." And he looks at me like, "What?" I'm like, if it's the one I'm thinking, you'll find a blue snap cap in there. So he turns the gun upside down, he pulls it back, and a blue snap cap pops out. And he goes, "You want to explain this?" So I told him. And him and his partner kind of giggled. They looked at each other and giggled like, "Amateur." And I'm just like,
Yep.
"Look, man, it's just what I do." And he's like, "I don't think I've ever seen mags like these before for these 43Xs." And I'm like, "Oh, those are Shield Arms mags." So then I got to tell him about the S15. One of those cops carries a Glock 48. And he goes, "Will it fit this 48?" I'm like, "Yes, sir, it will. ShieldArms.com." And he goes, "Thank you." So anyway, they zip tied my slide on my 43X so it wouldn't fully go into battery. I got to put it back in my holster, and I got to walk the gun show. So that's basically what happens at the gun show. So in all honesty, I'm not going to carry at the gun show because what's the point? Like, yeah, I'm not disarmed, but I got no ammo, right? So fuck it. Like next time, I'm not even gonna carry it. I'll leave it in the car. Fuck it. Whatever. But yeah, that happened. I don't know how I got into that tangent, but whatever. All right, so silencers covered. I think they're still gonna find a way to bonus out of it. I wish they didn't. Texas did pass the Texas-made suppressors can stay in the state without a tax stamp or whatever. But unfortunately, nobody's acted on that in my state.
There is an addendum to that. Apparently, the DOJ is trying to go after, I believe, Oklahoma
Okay.
or Nebraska. One of them that has the same thing that you guys have. They basically ruled that if it stays in the state, it's legal.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to get that overturned in court right now. The something State Preservation Act. So it basically makes suppressors legal in that state because
Like here.
they're not, as long as they're made in that state and stay in the state.
Yeah, that's what we have
They're
here.
not a NFA item.
That's what we have
Because
here. The problem
the
is,
federal government does not have the right to interstate transfer.
you see, the problem is the AFT sent letters. Like, I'm trying to think of those companies in Texas that make suppressors, and the only two that come to mind for me right now is Radical Firearms and LaRue Tactical. I know there's other ones. It's just those are the two that come to mind right now. I was surprised when I found out Radical makes them. I'm like, really? Anyway, point is, they were sent a letter. And basically what the letter said is, your governor can pass any state law he wants, but your federal firearms license is a federal firearms license. And if you play along that game with your state, we just won't renew your FFL license. They can do that. They can deny them. And that's not a risk that they're willing to take, are they?
Not the big companies, no.
Even the little guys. So the only solution is that they're going to have to take a tactic that a lot of corporations do that we probably think is scummy. Shadow companies. So let's say LaRue Tactical makes suppressors. They're going to have to make a small shadow company called LaScrew Tactical. LaScrew U Tactical. And they'll call it the FUAFT Can 9. Whatever, right? That's probably the only way this is going to fly. A company is going to have to be created that only builds suppressors. Then they can't have their license taken away for firearms transfers. That's the only way they're going to be able to do it. That's the only way I can think they can be able to do it. See, here I go again.
Do it in such a way that there can be no legal ramifications.
See, that's the problem. I'm giving them the information ahead of time, and so now they know how to stop it. And I don't like doing that. But I'm just saying what some of you were probably thinking already anyway. You just needed to hear it from someone else to go, aha, see? I wasn't the only one that thought that shit. So anyway, I think we kicked that one to death.
Because technically, they don't justified the under interstate commerce. They technically justify the GCA under interstate commerce. But the kicker is if they're made in state and they don't leave the state, the federal government has no legal authority over them.
Well, okay. Here's what I want to
That's
know.
the theory, anyways.
Here's what I want to know. Let's bring it all around. Gather round, children. We're going to bring this all around for you, okay? I'm going to take what we have said here. I'm going to take what Night Strike has said. I'm going to say what DJ's been saying. All of it. I'm going to take all of this together. Imagine a world. I'm just going to do the continental 48, okay? Because realistically, you can't do reciprocity in Alaska because you have to pass through Canada, right? So you
No, you
can't
don't.
do it on a land route. But
On a land route.
well, let's just say continental 48 state reciprocity for the commuter, the driver, okay? If they pass that, 48 states pass constitutional carry, which is reciprocity. I can carry my pistol here to Texas, to Oklahoma when I go to Wanamaker and walk around. Nobody's going to give me any shit for it, right? We're all responsible adults and we're not idiots. Let's say all that happens. Then the next thing that needs to disappear is when I go to Wanamaker and I'm walking around with Night Strike and I'm walking around with Raphael. And Mike goes, "Hey, check it out. There's a 2A1 Enfield over there. Didn't you want one of those to go next to that grenade fire you got?" And I'm like, "As a matter of fact, I do, you bastard." And I go over and I buy it, right? And I give the guy the cash. He gives me the rifle and he says, "You have yourself a wonderful day." That's cool, right? Because I can do that already. So let's say I do that. And then let's say we keep walking. And let's say Raphael goes, "Hey, Pwnery, that 1892 Swiss revolver you want's right over there." I should be able to walk over to that guy and be like, "Here's my money." He hands me a Swiss revolver and says, "You have yourself a wonderful day." That needs to go next. That pistol thing needs to go away. Why do we have to have that? Seriously, like, why? I did a face-to-face transaction, you know? If you still wanna do, hey, you can't order a pistol online and ship it to you, fine. That's cool. I can live with that. Yeah, he's right. We found the Vetterli Vitali too. But like if I did a face-to-face transaction at a gun show in another state for a pistol, right? Like if I buy it from you and I fill out a 4473 in front of you and you call it in, that should be good enough, right?
Well, see, that's technically you can buy a pistol out of state.
Yeah, but you have to have it shipped to your
You can
FFL.
pay for it there, and you have to ship it to your state.
See, that's bullshit, though.
Do your background check there.
No, see, that's bullshit.
I know.
If I do the background check with that guy right there, I should be able to take it right there and then be on my way. The background check happening in Oklahoma or in Texas is the same background check.
Yeah, but now you're getting into some states, like New Hampshire, runs their own background checks on pistols.
Sure, but I mean...
They actually have their own system besides NICS.
Right, okay, but
so
the thing is the NICS should be good enough, right?
System. State compares it to state records and then sends it to the feds. Because I believe they still do use NICS.
So are you saying the state record's more intricate?
Yes.
So you're saying the federal government, and this is a joke, by the way. I know they're idiots. But what you're trying to tell me, Scott, what you're trying to tell me is the federal government doesn't really know shit about us? No way. Say it ain't so.
You do realize the NICS has like over a 90% false positive rate, right?
I got dinged 4 times last year for delays.
Yeah.
Because those idiots didn't tell me that they combined the Koreas when I filled out my form. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not a dog-eating northerner. I'm a dog-eating southerner. No, I've never eaten a dog.
Citizen, motherfuckers.
Listen, I've never eaten a dog. The reason I own tiny dogs is because they're not even the size of a chicken nugget, so there's not even temptation. Haha.
Yeah, but you have a bunch of them.
So I have a 6-pack of chicken nuggets. Anyway. Oh, the other thing that sort of put
No,
me in a
but
good mood
different
is
states. Some states, there's at least 5 or 6 states I know of that do pistol background checks on their own, separate from NICS.
right. I'm just saying, look, 50 state, let's say 58, fuck it, 50 state reciprocity, 50 state constitutional carry, liberty and freedom, Hearing Protection Act passes, suppressors are cool, right? Pistol braces are fine, okay? Binary triggers, force reset triggers, fine. Franklin Armory finally comes out with a binary trigger for the Thompson so I can finally buy one, fine, right? All that's cool. I should be able to buy, well, I can't even buy an antique revolver at Wanamaker and take it home. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Look, you want to talk about concessions? I am willing to concede. I will buy an antique revolver at a gun show at Wanamaker. I will willingly fill out a 4473. You can do a background check on me, even though an antique doesn't require it. I will concede that as long as I can take it home. That's fine. I got nothing to hide, right?
An antique is not a firearm.
I know, but that's what I'm driving at.
So there should be no just same as buying a black powder firearm. Under the law, it's not actually a firearm.
Right. See, you know what the other problem is?
There's no background check, so you can.
You know what my other problem is?
Need to be given.
AFT, right? Them fuckers.
Yeah.
Here's the problem.
Yeah.
They can reinterpret and bend rules any fucking time they want, right? How come next time you go to the gas station, next time you go to a liquor store, walk up to the register, and they have a digital readout right next to the register that has the day that you're there, but rolled back to year 21 years, right? That changes every fucking year. Because that next year, the next class of people are 21 years old, right? I walked into that motherfucker to go buy my bullet bourbon, and that sign said, you must be born after this date, February 4th, 2001. Do you know how fucking old I felt? I had graduated high school 4 years before that. I told the lady at the register, she's like, how you doing? I'm like, I was fine until I saw that sign. And she goes, what do you mean? She looks down at it, and I said, I graduated high school 4 years before that date. And she looks at me, she goes, God damn it, honey. She's like, that means my son's about to turn 20. I was like, we're old. She's like, I'll drink to that. But you know what my problem is? Antique firearms. The cutoff used to be 1899, right? Anything before 1899, antique, right? That means that should have been good to 1999, which means guns produced until 1922 and older should now be antiques. That rolling age for for tobacco and alcohol, the other things the AFTs regulate, should carry over to the F. And they should get the F out of regulation because they don't even follow their own effing rules. I should be able to go buy a Thompson as an antique.
What you're saying is you can go buy a Maxim?
Yes. I should be able to go buy a Thompson. I should be able to go buy a BAR, an M1918 or 1817A1 or whatever. I should be able to have that as an antique. In all of its 22-pound 30-06 goodness. Anyway. Man.
That's the second time today I've heard somebody do that.
You talked to Patrick today?
Actually, I was talking to my FFL.
Wow.
He did that.
The Russian guy did that? That must have been funny sounding.
No, the manager.
Oh. All right. So.
Who ordered me a CZ97 BD.
Nice. And
one other one for the shop that's probably going to end up on his wall.
So if you hadn't noticed yet, we've been running long, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. Fifth story of the day. Final story of the day. We're going to kick the hornet's nest over on the Olympic Games in China. Yes, yes. So, as the story reads, let me get this loaded up because there's a bunch of pop-up garbage on here too. Here we go. Chinese officials could be seen in a viral video Friday attempting to end the live broadcast of a Dutch television reporter at the Winter Olympics in Beijing. Our correspondent was pulled away from the camera by security guards at 12 p.m. live in the NOS Journal. The Dutch station NOS Journal tweeted Friday along with the video. Unfortunately, this is increasingly becoming a daily reality for journalists in China. He is fine and he was able to finish his story a few minutes later. Remember this face. Because maybe in our lifetime, this man is going to be held for war crimes soon. I'm telling you. This is the next guy that's going to be held up for war crimes. Because of what he does to his own people, because of what he does to censor the media. I got a funny joke for you. Gong Hei Fat Choi. February 1st, Chinese Lunar New Year, Year of the Tiger. Every year leading up to this year, you could go to Google and it would put the Chinese New Year doodle at the top of the screen. And it was cool. Oh, later, DJ. And it was cool. This year, however, there was no Google Doodle until you typed in Olympic Beijing. And then if you typed in Chinese Lunar New Year. If you searched Chinese Lunar New Year, then the doodle came up. Otherwise, Google didn't put it up for about 7 or 8 hours. It didn't come back up normally until after 12 noon. So I asked my boss, because he's Cantonese. And I said, how come Google did that? And he goes, what, you don't know? I said, no, I don't know. And he says, Google hates China. Really? 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 I couldn't tell, because, Mark Zuckerberg is married to one of theirs. Chicom. Didn't even imagine that Google doesn't like China. How come Google doesn't like China? I asked. And he said, because they're banned in China. They're blocked in China. They're not allowed to be looked up in China. Oh, okay. So why does Google hate them? Well, because Baidu copied them. Oh, got it. So then why were they doing the doodle every year before that? And he said, capitulation. And sure as shit, after noon, it was up there because Chinese people all over the world that weren't living in mainland China complained. Then they put it up. Capitulation. Anyway, yeah, they're censoring media at the Olympic Games, and they're showing you what they want you to see, and nothing else.
They are censoring
Everything.
foreign media.
They're censoring everything.
While they're doing live broadcasts.
They cut half the opening ceremonies, from what I understand. They kept pulling the cameras at opening ceremonies too, which is ridiculous. Anyway, the reason I brought up this story, I don't have a link for it, so I'm not going to be able to pop it up, but I'm sure you probably heard it and saw it before, is Nancy Pelosi, right before the opening ceremonies on Friday morning, basically pulled a 180, okay? Now, there were people who used to criticize NBA players and said, you are paid millions to play a children's game. Shut up and dribble, right? Don't speak out. And some people took offense to that, and some people kind of nodded their head and go, well, they're not wrong. So people took sides and hurled insults and boulders at each other, and I'm sure the nagging cows at The View probably fought each other over it. Then again, Meghan McCain's gone, so maybe not, right?
Yeah,
So,
Whoopi's gone.
Well, now, yeah, Whoopi's gone too, right? Temporarily. I want you
Oh,
to
I've got
remember
a dream
something.
about
We'll
that.
get into that in a minute, but remind me of that before we're done today. So before the Olympic Games, she went on public record during a press conference, and she said, "My advice to the athletes of the United States is to basically go there, represent your country, and shut your mouth because we can't protect you." Wait, I'm sorry, what? You want me to go and represent the country, but in every sporting event within our own country, you will allow these people to be social justice warriors on camera so everyone can see what they stand for, like Colin Kaepernick and all them, right? People like that. But when they go to China, keep your head down and don't say anything about the atrocities of human rights against the Uyghur people, right? Don't talk about that. No, 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 no. Don't insult the hosts of the Olympics because we can't save you diplomatically. If you can't save us and you don't agree with the policies, then why did you go in the first place? Oh, well, they're athletes. They need to go represent. They need to go and, it's not their fault. That's what they'll say, right? Here's the thing. If the world can't stomach the human atrocities going on in China, then every country should have boycotted it. And nobody should have went to the Olympic Games this year. That would have been a statement. Nobody attends. The International IOC would have not only lost face, they would have lost billions, and they would have looked like co-conspirators to human atrocities for
Because they
criticizing the
are.
nations who didn't go. And you're absolutely right. They are. Because if you think about how the Bird's Nest soccer stadium was built in China years ago, if you think about how all the stadiums across Brazil were built, if you go and look at some of those places today, they're run down derelicts now because nobody's there to maintain them. They built them to attract the IOC, and the IOC comes to your country to whore your resources and make you build all these things. For what? The honor of being in the almanac that you hosted the Olympic Games? Who gives a fuck? They made you
Well,
waste billions of your dollars, of your taxpayer money in your country to build all this shit so they can use you as a venue, and then they leave. What what honor is that? You know how many times Houston has wasted hundreds of millions of dollars to renovate this city to try to attract the IOC, and we've been denied every fucking time? Let me give you a great example of that. They were going to build a metro light rail system that went from downtown Houston to as far south as Galveston Island on the coast of Texas, and it was supposed to go as far west as Katy, Texas, which is 27 miles from the center of downtown. Okay? And it was supposed to go as far north as Bush Intercontinental Airport, which is north of Spring, Texas, which is another 24 and a half miles. Okay? It was supposed to be a big, like, plus symbol of light rail. So that way, when they had all these stadiums that they were going to use, they would be able to ferry the athletes and the fans to all these different venues, because the Olympics can't host, like, for instance, when they do soccer in the Summer Olympics, there isn't enough stadiums in one area to cover all the games required to make that tournament lead to the gold medal cup game, right? You have to have like 12 stadiums just for soccer. You can't do that in one city, so they spread them out across multiple cities in the host country, and then they ferry them across with buses and, trains and shit like that, right? Well, in Houston, it's so big and so spread out that we could fit that many stadiums as long as we had the light rail to get everyone around to it. When we lost the Olympic bid, they canceled the light rail down to where it only covered, I think, 4 miles of downtown, north and south, down Main Street. All the rest of it canceled, but they had already parceled out the land or tore up the highways where the rail was supposed to run. So then they ended up wasting more millions to rebuild the highways that they tore up and then turned them into toll roads. Those parasitic fucks. We still didn't get the Olympics. And we never will. Because this is a shithole run by blue liberal morons. So just, fucking forget it, right? I didn't know why that turned into a rant, but it did. Sorry.
Oh, apparently Bloomberg has already said Russia has invaded Ukraine.
Well, maybe I wasn't that far off of my bet then. Remember? I was like, place your bets.
Apologize.
Oh, he was wrong.
Because it's not true.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are
Come on,
watching,
go
if you're
figure.
wondering, I had this gentleman's bet here on the server, and I'm like, place your bets on when the Ukraine gets invaded, and I said that it was going to happen during the opening ceremonies of the Beijing Olympics because the whole world would be watching that distracted. It didn't happen. Damn, lost. Fuck. Anyway. All right, what was the thing I said we should talk about after that we'll come back to?
I don't know.
God damn it. We're getting old. If any of you in the audience remember what I said, we'll come right back to that. Just type it in there. I'm sure we'll get to it. But yeah, if nobody showed up to the Olympics, that would have been a statement, for real, totally. I think that would have been awesome. Well, I can't remember what we were going to talk about at the end of that. I thought you brought it up too, and I was like, hang on, we'll get right back to it. I'm going to hate myself because I'll play this back later and I'll be like, damn, I really wanted to do that. Well, since I can't remember that, and I'll wait for somebody in the audience to type it possibly, I have a joke. Now, admittedly, I hadn't listened to this show for too long before, but after watching it a few times, now I try to catch it every week. But I love watching Roll Call's show on Wednesdays. I think it's fantastic. I really do. And the reason I say that is because everybody has a calling in life, and he is not answering his. That man needs to do Michael Douglas impressions. He does. The way he talks, his voice, the tone, the color, the delivery. I would freak out if he could do a whole show where the face of Michael Douglas is on the screen superimposed with his mouth moving when he's talking and just delivering the news the way he does in his voice, because he sounds just like Michael Douglas. I'm like, you need to be doing that as a joke, but you can use the joke as a tool to get your message across. And, you can reach a big audience through humor, because the humor makes you laugh, but the message you're delivering through humor will make them think. And he has this message where it's rants and raves. He's always frustrated. He's always angry about something in the news, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you can bring like the joke of the Michael Douglas thing in there, it's going to attract a lot of casuals. They're going to be like, man, that guy's funny, but he's right, and I should think about these things. You would have a fantastic delivery device. Just a word of advice. If you're seeing this, or if Night Strike is still here and he passes this on to you, you got to do it. And if you guys don't watch his show, it's Rants and Raves. It's usually on Wednesday nights, prime time-ish. It sounds funny. Sometimes it sounds ranty, but the message is good. It's solid. So check it out, because I don't plug very many people, but his stuff is great. I love it. I watch it. Anyway, nobody told us what I was going to bring back up later, so I guess we're done with that. So.
Oh. Apparently in Russia, a brand new Corvette that was under construction just caught fire. Where have I heard that? Oh, wait. Didn't the U.S. Navy have that particular issue?
I don't know.
And ruined a amphibious assault ship?
I don't remember.
I
don't remember.
Yes, they did.
I don't remember. I'm making shifty eyes. I'm saying that. I know you can't see me doing it, but
they apparently had a disgruntled sailor who wanted to go on leave.
Oh yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, man, that guy got in a lot of trouble for that.
And it ruined a fucking multi-billion-dollar ship that they had to scrap.
Yeah, that guy got in some serious shit.
The Russians just had the same thing happen.
Nah. They had a Navy SEAL wearing blue and white striped tops, looking like a Russian sailor doing it. Just saying.
Possibility.
I'm just saying. I mean, we managed to kill some. We killed some Al Qaeda douchebag that nobody saw that coming. I mean, like, that came out of nowhere, didn't it? Like, Biden has a press conference. I'm like, what's this stupid shit gonna be? I killed the #1 guy in Syria. What? You did what? You actually did your job? What the fuck? Actually, no, he didn't. I know what happened. Fucking Intel calls the Pentagon saying, we got this guy. We can strike right now. Well, we need the president's approval. Mr. President, put down the ice cream, sir. We can get this guy. Get what guy? Brandon. Do it! Codename Brandon. Kill that fucker!
We can get Bin Laden.
No. Brandon Bin Laden. No, because they're going to take a picture of that AK that I just showed off, and they're going to think they're going to think that he's still alive and it's me. And then, bad idea. Anyway, so usually we end the show with, what are you going to do the rest of the week? Unfortunately, it's already Saturday evening. Most of us have already done the thing. Scott's already been to the range. He's already, you said 150 rounds?
Yeah.
That's a pretty any day you can take a 6-inch barreled Ultra Tac 2011 frame 10 millimeter and put 150 rounds of 10 millimeter hate downrange. That's a good goddamn day. That's a
There's
good
no
day.
recoil with this fucking thing. Dude.
I know. That's what I love.
It's
Even
so
my
heavy.
5-inch one's not bad. So
I mean, I was shooting. I shot a few rounds, one mag of SMB hollow points, and I shot 2 boxes of Federal 10 millimeter 180 grain, and a handful of other SMB full metal jackets.
So we have this joke on the server. It
fed the hollow points. That's all I cared about.
Yeah. The joke goes, it's an old Top Gear joke. If Clarkson buys, you sell. If Clarkson sells, you buy. Because he bought low, or he bought high and sold low like an idiot, right? Well, we have this joke on this server called Keeping Up with the Poneses, where it's like somebody buys something and then the rest of us buy something in response, right? So if we were to backtrack this a bit, Jaime bought a Galil. I turned around and bought an AK. Scott turned around and took my advice and picked up that ProTac Ultra Tac because I had the 5-inch.
This really was a spite buy.
I know.
Just to spite you.
Well, no, I'm glad you got it. It's just you got the better version of the one that I have. Because, I mean, I bought mine because I thought it was a good deal and it was in front of me. And I thought, it's 5-inch, doesn't have the rail, so it should be easy to draw out of the holster. And it's still 17 rounds of 10 millimeter. So, you got that one. I think it's great. And then now it's, in the next 10 days, I might have a Python and an Anaconda. So it's like,
well, I knew
then
if I
you
ever
bought the
got bored with
CZ.
it, I could always just, I knew if I bought this, I could always turn around and sell it to you.
Yep. Yep. No, that's spot on.
Because I know you would be interested.
So you've already bought 2. I got this. I'm going to do the Anaconda and the Python. That means Jaime is next. Wonder what are we going to make him buy?
I did send him a link that was back orderable for Hellion.
Nah, I'm going to do you one better than that because I think it's on his roster. I think he can have it. And I think Ruger already has him out on the market. No. It's time for him to put on the big boy pants and get an SBL 1895 4570. Ooh. Yeah, I think it's time. Because the next time he sees a coyote in the front yard, welcome to Jurassic Park.
Well, even if he wanted the ProTac,
yeah, he can have one.
He can have one, but he's gonna have a neutered one.
Oh, the 10-round mags.
Yes.
That's fine.
10-round mags.
You were able to find the mags. They're $28. That's not a bad deal. Oh, by the way, did you modify?
No, I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Man. So instead of what are you gonna do for the rest of the weekend since we've already done our shit? Let's try this. So what are you getting next? Like, you've already bought yours.
Pretty much.
So what would
I told
follow
them I'll
that?
be in next weekend.
What would follow that, though?
Oof.
Spiker?
Spiker, probably.
Yeah, I'm with you
If
on
I
that.
can afford one when they're available.
I'm with you on that. So, if you guys didn't know, PSA announced that they're building the AK-47 Spiker. So it's a full-length 47. It's got the groove cut out on the bottom. It's got a flip-out M44 style or SKS style bayonet. I think it was Polytech. They were like the only real name in the game that sold those, and they were
Norenko.
pretty pricey. Well, yeah, but good luck finding one of those around here. But they're pretty
You'll
pricey,
find
right?
a Norenko before Polytech.
Well, I'm curious what PSA's MSRP on this Spiker is supposed to be. Like $7.99, $8.99?
I'm thinking about 12. Just guessing.
See, their GF3
haven't
is only
announced it yet.
$700 though.
Yeah, but this is...
It's the same gun with the Spiker on it.
Are not... No, they're not.
No?
They have a different gas block,
Uh-huh.
different muzzle device.
Oh, is it because the bayonet
furniture
pivot's
is
built
different.
into it?
Yes. Also, the furniture has to be cut to accept the bayonet.
Sure, but is that a
Handguard.
50% increase over their standard price to do all that, though?
The Chinese Spikers are unique. They're not standard AKs. That's what makes them pricey.
I'm still going to buy
There's
one.
more work in making. Oh, yeah.
Because it's coming out
Whether I
around
buy
my
one
birthday, so...
right away. Well, mine's not very far behind yours.
Yeah, I think they said they were gonna make. Let's see. At the end, I think it was SHOT Show's announcement was they should be rolling out within 90 days. Which okay, SHOT Show was the middle of January, so 90 days from that would put it in. Let's see, February, March. Yeah, it'd be the middle of April. My birthday's in the middle of April, so bing.
Mine's the beginning of May.
Yeah, so that's Well, okay. So for me next, actually, let me look since fuck it, we're doing it live. Okay. Let me check all my Python things right now. So 1576, 1525, 1500, 1475, 1500, 1500, 1525. There's a very distinct possibility that I'm going to own a Python tomorrow. Very, very distinctive possibility. I may own a Python tomorrow, which is great because, this is the 20th month of my pre-order and it's still not here, so yeah, I think I'll just buy one, have it shipped over, and then have my deposit transferred over to the Anaconda that is sitting on the shelf, and then I'll have to overpay for it, but I can have the Anaconda too. Hi, May, are you here?
Yeah, mine's a
Oh, shit.
What's next?
Okay, that's legit.
Beretta 1301.
Oh, yeah, you've been talking about that for a while. All right. So he's going shotgun. What shotgun did I see today?
Here's something for you, Sean. Tomorrow is National Stay at Home with Your Dog and Drink Bourbon Day.
You bastard. My dog
Nothing
is missing.
official. I just made it up. Tell the others.
Oh, shit. I've seen that meme. Nah, actually, no. If I'm being totally honest, I think what I'll probably be doing the rest of the weekend.
Driving around.
I'm done. I think I'm done driving. I'm pretty sure if someone found Charlie, they've got him, right? So.
Did they ever approve your post?
Yes. Oh, I didn't tell you what happened with that.
No.
So, the Facebook community page in my neighborhood, Lost and Found Pets. I did a post, I put in Charlie's pictures, and I gave a brief description with my phone number and everything like that, right? It said, your post is waiting for admin approval. The admin is a woman, and I thought, okay, cool. They'll see this, and they'll approve it in a couple of minutes, and it'll be up on the page, right? 14 hours later, I get a text from my ex, and she goes, oh my God, I'm so sorry about Charlie. My best friend owns that community. I had her approve your post immediately. I'm like, how did you see it? And she goes, I'm a moderator, but I can't approve the post. I saw it, so I told her to greenlight it right now. And then she took that post and she sent it to other communities the next town over that she lives in. So that was cool. It got greenlit. People are seeing it. I got a lot of comments, a lot of nice folks in my neighborhood. I'm kind of surprised because my neighborhood looks like a gangland shithole. If you look at people's fences and the bridges, they're all tagged out now. My mom got a fucking lesson in this neighborhood when I drove her around looking for the dog. She was like, she kept asking where we were. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, this place looks like shit. And I said, welcome home. I turned one corner and my street was 2 blocks ahead of it. And she goes, wait, this is here? I'm like, why do you think I want to sell this place so bad and get the hell out of this area? I'm done. Done. If my dog died in this neighborhood, that's the final nail in the coffin. I'm done. Anyway. We have wasted 2.5 hours of y'all's precious time. And I'm very grateful that you all took the time to check us out in prime time. This was something that was kind of impromptu, but I kind of enjoyed it because everybody was available. Everybody was pretty active. Chat was active. Panel was active. Tony was not here for whatever reason, and we'll definitely grill his ass for it on Monday. So I think it's a good time to maybe start playing this.
Ooh.
And I'm going to thank you all for joining today. And I'm going to remind you that if you'd like to join my server or this show, check the link in the description below. There's 2 links now. There's an email address you can send me for an invite, or if they're still available, I've opened the server to the public and there's an invite code down there, and it should be good for a few more entries. So just use that, hop on in and say hi. Anyway, if you're new to my channel, welcome, but if you're a regular here, welcome back. Maybe check out my other playlist, see if my other interests might be of interest to you. Because I'm going to get back into the gun review game, so there will be more of those. There will be more penny arcades, and there'll probably be more of these too. So until then, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Later.